All right, amazing. Week 5. Yes, time is flying and we are also flying. So we are already on week 5 today. And today we're going to cover vulnerability management. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the presentation. I just want to make sure that you guys know what vulnerability management is. Last week we saw, RMF, risk management framework, which is non-technical, but vulnerability management is technical. So I want you guys to really pay attention because when we are talking about vulnerability, we are talking about weaknesses. We are talking about loopholes. We're talking about gaps in information system that a user can exploit, right? I think right now, if they ask you what is a vulnerability, you should be able to define it. It's a weakness in the system, right? That could be exploited, that could be exploited by a threat, you know that. So today, we are going to see how company manage their vulnerabilities, how companies make sure that their vulnerabilities do not get exploited and that they don't get into a compromising situation. Anyway, let's see quick here. I'm going to ask you to download Nessus on your machine, and I want you guys to pay careful here, to be very attention, to be very careful here and pay attention, because this is gonna determine whether you will understand the course or not. So you're gonna download Nessus on your machine, and you're gonna install it. All right. So Nessus is a vulnerability management tool. What does that mean? It means that Nessus is used to scan for vulnerabilities. Nessus is used to be able to scan a system or a network for vulnerabilities. It is one of the tools out there that's very common in the market. I already trained somebody on Nessus, and the person, found a job, and the person came back and say, "It is exactly what we did in class." I say, "Of course, it's exactly what we did in class, right?" And more than that, the person even said he learned in class better. So I want you to download, go to this link that I sent in the chat. All right, click on the link, and it should take you to a page like this. The page should look like this. So let me know if you are here. Let me know if you are on this page. All right, now what you can do, you can go to.
Can you convert to the link, please?
Yes, the link is in the chat. Just click on the
Oh,
chat and it will take you here. Yes. And then just click on, on the left side, you're going to see the Tenable Nessus agent. So click there. All right. So Nessus is also called Tenable. So don't get wrong when you go and, people say, well, Tenable or Nessus, it's the same thing. Tenable, Nessus. All right. So if you click on the link, it should take you to a page like this. All right. You're going to see a page like this. Okay. Just go to Tenable Nessus agent and listen carefully here. They say authentication now required for some downloads. Before they didn't do that, but now they're requiring it. It's okay. Let's see if we will be able to download it here. Now, I want you to pay attention. Look at the agents here. These are the agents that you need to download to install, but you don't want to download the wrong agent. So make sure that you read well. So if you are using a Windows machine, right? Listen, you're gonna download the MSI. Okay, MSI means Microsoft, installer. Okay, so um, just go down here. If you are using a Windows machine, like Windows 10 or whatever, just go here and you're going to download this one. But be careful. Your system may not be necessarily 64, but there must be 32. So how do you know that your machine is a 32 or a 64 machine? How do you know that? Who can tell me the command that you can run to find out the system that your machine is running? Anybody? Anybody? Okay.
System
I'm Yeah, go ahead.
is it system info?
That is correct. Yes. So great job. Yeah. Type system info, use the command prompt. Here, I'm opening it right now. You're going to see it. And type system info here. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. So type system info, and it is going to load your computer information. All right. Now, you should be able to see that, go to system type, and you should be able to see if you are using a 64-based PC or if you are using a 32-based PC. All right. So you can see that I'm using a 64-based PC. Okay. Does anybody want me to repeat the process? Okay. So hold the CMD on your machine, command prompt, and type system info and press enter. And that's going to load the proprietary information about your computer. And you go on system type. Go to system type, and on the left, if you scroll down, you're going to see system type here, and you will see if you're using a 64-based PC or if you're using a 32-based. Some people will say 64, some people will say 32. Okay, are we good? If you're using a Mac, just be patient. I will show you which one to download. But I'm talking first for those who are using a Windows machine. So, Yahuda, did you do that? What did you find? What's your system type?
64.
Good. Anybody else? Sabine, what is your system type if you done so?
So mine is 64.
Okay, yours is 64. Thank you. Today, what is your system type?
Mine is 64 too.
Yes, okay. Most people are going to be 64 because, 32 is really used back in the days. I think most people will have a 64-based PC, which is good. Now, which one do you download now? So you see that if it is a 64, you're going to download this one, the 64 MSI. All right, you just press on it, click on it, and it's going to download it. And I will show you how to install it. Now, if you are using a Mac device, Mac laptop, PC, you're going to download this one, the Nessus Asian 10.6.4 DMG. Okay, DMG is for Mac OS. You can see Mac OS 12 through 14. So I think you should be good there. All right. If you are using a Ubuntu Linux, you download this one, the Debian one. If you are using, Red Hat or whatever Linux, but I don't think anybody is because these are only servers. But just showing you. But let's just focus on what we're going to use today. We're going to use the MSI, this one, and the DMG is for those who are using Mac. So if you are using Windows and you download the Mac one, it's not going to work for you. Make sure that you have the right agent downloaded to your machine. Yes, one day question.
From my own window here, so I see download and install Nessus. So should I just click on the download thing? Just click on directly on download because I'm not seeing those x64.
Yeah, so if you go, just make sure that you go on the left menu. I think that's what you are seeing right now. I think that's what you are seeing right now, right? But
Yes.
click here. I mean, you can
Right.
also stay here and change it to whatever you want, but usually it wouldn't give you the much options. So be careful. Just go here, click on the agent,
Okay.
all right, and scroll down. You should be able to see all these options.
Okay.
All right, good. Okay. Does anybody has issues with this? If you have, that's the time to raise your hand.
And the one we have to download is this the one with 77.2 MB.
Yeah, so once you click like this, it's gonna say agree or whatever. You just scroll down and you click I agree, and it is gonna start downloading as you can see here, right?
Okay.
And once it downloads, it should be here. If you click on this little arrow, you should see it. All right.
Please, Pastor, can you tell me which version again, please?
Which version? Which version? What's your machine?
It's the window, but I would like to know. I just get access to the table. I don't remember which one you.
Oh
do
yeah.
not
So
download.
so once you have a Windows and you have like
Yeah.
Windows 64,
Yeah.
make sure you go here, scroll down, and you will get this one, the 64 MSI, this one. Nessus Agent 10.6.64, yeah, 64,
Okay.
X64 MSI. Yeah, that's the one that you need to download, the 77.2, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. We good? Okay, is anybody having issues downloading this? All right, so you did your first part. Now you should be able to install it. So once you download it, it doesn't mean it is installed. You need to go and install it. All right. Who want to share the screen so we can walk through quick? We're not going to spend a lot of time, but I just want to make sure that people have an idea who downloaded it and can share their screen real quick. Who? Anybody? Come on. Who want to share the screen? Just take it over. Yeah, if you want to share a screen. Welcome, Ansuman. We missed you. You're muted, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, my apologies about that. It was very poor timing and, hearing on my alarm. So that's my apologies on that.
Sure. Yeah, please
Thankfully,
share.
thankfully I was able to make it just enough to where I'm not missing, the whole session. Forgive me for that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So what I did is I've already clicked on download. Now I have to go and retrieve the download, but I'm gonna go ahead and click it again. Can everybody see my screen?
If you already clicked on the download, it is good. You don't need to click it. It's gonna download twice. That's okay. You can just click on the little arrow on the top and you will see your download there.
Okay. I mean, if I download it, especially if I'm using Google Chrome, here it is right here.
There you go.
There we go. I click onto it. I'm gonna have the page open.
Yes.
Now, am I on the right step or should I go right back from the beginning?
Well, you're good. You're good. You're good from here. So what does it show you when you click on the MSI?
Are you guys does it have the Nessus Agent window open? Like, do you guys see that?
No.
Or do you guys? I see. Here, let me change the share settings. I think I only have like a certain tab that's sharing here.
Yeah, you can share your entire desktop.
There we go. Well, what about now? You guys can see every detail. So this is after clicking the download, and then clicking that little folder. I opened it. This little software program opened up. So I'm gonna continue from there.
Yep, perfect. Continue.
Typical. Now I need details. Any key information that I should put in here?
That's where I am too.
I think you can click next. We don't need these really.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You had the asterisk, so I thought they were required. So I'm gonna go ahead and just hit beginning on that. So I hope everyone's doing well today.
Yep.
Yep. So
okay.
Yeah. What does it say? Okay.
All right. So it's asking for admin permission. Do you want to make changes to this computer? Are you the administrator? So I have two separate profiles, like the actual admin profile and your normal user profile that I created separately.
Good.
Now, typically something does pop up, right after that.
Something popped up?
Not just yet. I think it may open up here shortly.
Okay.
Trying to see if it's gonna show up here.
Pastor Shah, can I add something before it go? When it's showing like a typical and custom, which
Typical.
one do we have? Okay, typical. Thank you.
Jack, I'm sure some people might have some issues. Would you mind, like, I'm sure. Let's see.
One or
I'm
two
sure.
things. Either may happen. I either didn't choose like a specific destination folder, or it's taking its time to to appear on screen right now. So one of those two
Okay.
things could have happened.
Yeah, just click there. Yeah, there you go. Next. Oh, remove? No.
Maybe you already have it.
So with that being the case, then I gotta check all my details. I gotta go check everywhere.
Yeah, if you already installed it. That's interesting. You could go to your file folder. I know where you can find it. This is the agent, actually.
Yeah, we're looking for just.
Excuse me, sir. Did you say the typical or the custom?
Yeah, he said you have to choose the typical one.
Okay.
Wait, what happened?
No, it's okay. She was asking something else.
So normally after the install, something should have popped up on your machine where you have to log in. Everybody follow this process and let me know if definitely it's if you go to your file folder, Ansuman, if you open your file folder and go to your C drive, that's the download, right? Let's go to the file folder. Open your file folder on the back. You right there. Just go to like C desktop. Click on desktop. Actually, not desktop, but maybe go to this PC, and then C. Yeah, the C folder. Go to program files, and then go to Tenable. You should see Tenable there. You should create a folder. Yeah.
Oh,
right
beautiful.
There. Then you can see the Nessus agent. Yeah. So it is installed. I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of it should have started to work already. Now I'm just trying to find out. The service is definitely running. You can click on that service. Yeah.
I'm gonna double click it, see what happens. You have chosen to remove the program from your system. No, that's not what I'm trying to do there.
Yeah.
So Nessus agent. So this is probably exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
If you start over, it's not better because the way that it's showing up, I don't understand. Is because it's different laptop or computer or what?
I
No,
hear
it should have been the same.
So here's what I may do on my end. I might take a little bit of a second or two to try to locate the exact file, or I may just go through with removing it. And whenever I download it, I choose the destination file that I can easily see, and then I can open it from there.
I got it.
Okay. Let me see something, Ansumana. If we want to see if the service is running, go to your CMD, your command prompt. And then type task list. Task list. Yeah, press enter. So let's see if it is running Nessus. Oh, there you go.
Right here.
You see Nessus service.exe. It is running. It is running. So what you can do, let me Let me try something here. Hopefully it works.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they're all
install wizard completed. The wizard was interrupted. Has not been modified. To install this program at a later time, please run installation again. Okay. So if I went on and just hit finish, let's see what happens.
Mhm. So
I think it can stop the process and then do it again.
Yeah.
if you do that, you can interrupt with certain things now, and it might even get more complicated. Let me see. So, Ansuman, I'm gonna send you a link in the chat, and since you installed it and the service is running, try accessing that link and see what is gonna happen.
Alrighty.
And guys, don't take if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You will get it. We have a long time to go through it, so you will get it. But just click there. It cannot be reached. Oh my goodness. Reload, or let's go to details and see what is going on. Normally, if you install this one, it should definitely work for you.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Usually, it'll be the download, like the downloaded file. You click it, and then it does like the whole system, installation.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to worst case scenario. If I can get it, open, from here or so, then I'll probably will redo the process, but choose a designated folder to do so.
Yeah, just remember that if you redo if you wanna uninstall it or something, you have to delete the entire folder, right? Because if you try to reinstall, it's gonna say you, oh, it already exists, and you can't install it anymore. So you might wanna remove not that folder, but the other one even before that one, the Tenable, the one that says Tenable. If you go back once again, you're gonna see Tenable. There you go. That entire folder needs to be deleted. But since the service is running, you probably need to stop the service first before you can even delete that folder. You can try, but it's going to tell you that it's not going to delete because
it's running. Do you still want to continue? Let's say yes. Let's get it out of here.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully you won't run into a snag, but okay. Either way, it's a good way to do. Has anybody been able to? Normally, after you install, it should pop up on your screen and you can log in. All right, but if anybody is not able to, they always change their stuff as well. So
can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure. Ansuman, give him, let's see what he has.
There you go, for brother. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your screen. Yeah, that was it's good. So I think sometimes they change the way things work. Who wanted to share their screen?
It's me, Pastor.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Let's see. I'm sending you guys also a troubleshoot in the WhatsApp chat. You can read that as well. Who is the one that is that Jacques that wanted to share the screen?
It's me, Leon.
Oh, Leon, go ahead.
Give me a second. I'm trying to find where to share my screen. I had it a minute. I don't know.
It's at the bottom. Here's the screen.
Okay, yeah, now open it up. Okay.
I'm sending the local host in the chat as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you guys see?
No.
No. Again. Okay.
You have to pick the desktop. Share your desktop. Yeah.
Okay, this is where I am at right now. I don't know if the right thing I have is right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. How are you able to get here? Yeah, that's the question now. Yeah, that's good. Oh, yes. So when you install, it popped up, right?
Yeah, it popped up and then I download it and then I follow the steps.
Oh,
So,
good. Wow. Okay, that's good. So 1 second. Your username is now going to be valid because there is a space. Make sure there is no space. You can put like underscore or
yeah,
something.
yeah, I'm gonna just put my last name. That's it.
Okay. Oh, but what about the L?
Oh,
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Submit.
Oh, setup complete. I hope you remember your password, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so everybody, that's good. Yes, it should, after you install it, it should pop up on your screen like this, you know. And Suman, try to use the local host on the that browser, the browser that Leon is using. Is it Edge? Yeah, try to use Edge and see if it's gonna work. Good. Leon, for you to come back, can you click on the star? You know, that way next time you don't have to look for it. It will come automatically. Click on the star at the end of your browser search. You see the letter A, and next to the A there is a star, like your favorite. You're gonna bookmark it.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, to the right. Yeah, you see the star.
Oh, this one?
Which one?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there is a star on your browser. Yeah, just click on the star right there. The star. You see the star?
This one. It's this one,
L'étoile.
right?
I don't see you. You know. Anyway.
So I have a question.
What's your question?
Yes, so you say after you've installed, it will pop up, the icon will pop up on your toolbar, right?
Yeah, it should open the browser. Yes, it should pop up. And
yeah, I see the icon on my toolbar, and they're requesting. When I click on it, they're asking that should they allow the app to make changes on my computer?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Good. Yes. Okay. So, Nessus Expert, not Nessus. I'm sorry. Use Nessus Essentials. Nessus Essentials is what you want to choose. Somebody put a Okay. So, all right, guys. Okay, good. Anyway, this is just the install part. You guys can do that on your lean time. Let's go back and actually continue the presentation. And later on, we will come back to this. So yeah, after install, I'm gonna put something in the WhatsApp group. Go to this website. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the HTTP localhost, whatever. Yeah, okay. All right. Cool. All right, let's go back, guys. You guys are doing wonderful. Yeah, so this is gonna take some time. Minister Leon, thank you so much for really, sharing. But after it install, make sure that, you follow the instructions. It's gonna ask you probably to enter an email. If you don't have a work email, you can just enter something like at apple.com or google.com or whatever. It should let you go through, okay? And make sure that you copy the activation key, and we'll get back to it later. Good. All right. So after you install, that is how it should look like. Let me see if I still have my Nessus Essentials here. Yeah, so it's gonna say, connection is now private. Go to advanced and proceed to localhost, and you should be able to log in. All right, so let me try to log in. Hopefully my password still works. But yeah, it should let you log in, and you're gonna use this to scan your system. I will show you what to scan, but just understand that this is how it should look like on your machine here. All right, good, perfect. I like it. Okay, good job. You guys can really do that whenever you have time. Do that on your lean time. I'm sure that you will be able to install it. But let's go back here quick. Next week we're gonna have time to practice more and everything, but let's just go here and see a couple of key terms that you need to know for this class, for this vulnerability management class. It's very important for you to understand those things. And I'm gonna ask all those who can come on video, please come on video. I don't want you to be distracted, please. If you can come on video, just come on video. Be nice to me. Yes. Okay. So, but if you can't come, it's okay. But of course, I recommend videos. All right. So, number one key term that we need to understand here is vulnerability. What is a vulnerability? Who can try to define me what a vulnerability is? Flora.
Okay. So, vulnerability, is a continuous process to proactively identify, evaluate, remediate, and monitor security weakness in the information system to protect against potential threat and breaches. Sorry for my voice.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, you define me what vulnerability management is, but what's a vulnerability? Thank you, though. What is a vulnerability?
A weakness that could be exploited by the attackers.
That is right. A vulnerability is just a weakness that could be exploited by a threat. Remember that we said risk equals vulnerability times threat. You guys remember that? So the vulnerability is the weakness. It's a deficiency. It's a loophole. It's a gap, right? In an information system, for example, an information system that is not patched, it's a vulnerability, right? A very simple password is a vulnerability, right? Remember that? Anything that is a weakness that the attacker could exploit is called a vulnerability. So understand that. What's a threat? What is a threat? Yeah, Flora again.
Yeah, so a threat is a potential danger that could cause damage to a computer.
Yeah, that is correct. A threat is a potential danger that could cause damage to an information system or a computer or a server, regardless of whatever. It's a potential danger. Remember that a threat is a potential danger. We saw that in the beginning of the class, if I remember well, right? So you guys should be good to know that if you go to an interview, they say, what's a threat? What's a vulnerability? And what is a risk? You guys should know that what's risk. A risk is today.
It's the likelihood of a threat taking advantage of a vulnerability.
That is correct. A risk is the likelihood. Remember, likelihood. What is the possibility? What is the probability that a threat will exploit a vulnerability? Yes, we saw that. So that's good. Thank you, today. Now, what is a zero-day vulnerability? Who can try to remember what's a zero-day vulnerability? Come on, guys. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Fire! Let's go. What is a zero-day vulnerability? Come on. What is a zero-day vulnerability? You know, guys, I like to put fire on you. I came one day at church and people were like, they were sleeping. Like I was preaching and nobody was saying amen. I just like, guys, say amen. Nobody was saying, I say, okay, I invoke the fire here on you guys. And they say, amen, hallelujah. Yes, so go ahead. Anybody?
I think there is no zero vulnerability there.
0 day, yeah, 0 day.
Zero what?
I said, what? 0 day. What is a 0-day vulnerability?
Okay, I didn't get you.
Yes, 0 day. Yes. Okay, Flora.
Okay.
Oh, can sorry. I try?
Yeah, go ahead.
Zero-day vulnerability is basically is when a, 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 a weakness had been discovered in a system, but company doesn't have a time to patch that weakness, and threat actors can exploit it.
Yeah, it's a little bit almost I would say you were 90% there. What company doesn't have what company cannot patch it? You mean the vendor or the company itself?
Not the vendor, the company itself.
That's when you got it a little bit wrong, but almost there, almost there. Flora?
So I can define that as a hiding problem that hackers could find and you get your computer or device before anyone has a chance to fix it.
That is, yes, that is correct. So a zero-day vulnerability is a vulnerability that is discovered, but there is no patch available. That means the vendor does not have any solution to it yet. Okay, so that's why it means 0 day. Okay, it's been discovered, and the vendor has not come up with the fix to it. So it's a 0 day vulnerability. Remember that, these terms, they're not difficult, right? But as if you remember those, you will notice that your IT language is going to get better. So a 0 day vulnerability is a vulnerability that has no patch available yet. Okay. SLA means service level agreement, that the time it takes to respond or resolve a ticket or resolve a vulnerability. Remember that you will discover some vulnerability and they say, okay, the SLA is 2 days, 48 hours, or the SLA is 7 days, or the SLA is 1 month. SLA means the service level agreement, meaning from the discovery to the vulnerability to the remediation of it. Okay, remember that the discovery and the remediation is called SLA, service level agreement. So remember that exception is a temporary exemption granted for remediation of a security vulnerability. Yeah, remember that when we're talking about exception, it's a time we found the vulnerability, great, but we need an exception. We need 6 months to remediate the vulnerability, or, we're going to give you an exception of 3 months to remediate that vulnerability. So it's the exemption, the time that they give to you so that you can remediate the vulnerability. Scan target. A scan target is a device that is being scanned. That's all. So when we are talking about scan target, we are talking about a server. It could be a network device. It could be a computer. It could be anything that is being scanned. All right. Scan target is the device that is being scanned. An asset is anything that belongs to the company. It could be a computer. It could be anything. An exploit is an attack that is designed to take advantage of a computer system. Minister Leon, any question?
No, Pastor, I think I was trying to lower my hand. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So a compensating control is a control that compensates another control to provide a better protection. Remember that? A compensating control. We saw that when we saw the different types of control. We saw preventative control. We saw detective control. We saw compensating control. We saw deterrent control. We saw physical controls. Remember that compensating control was one of them. It's a control that you put in place to provide a better protection. For example, a vulnerability has been discovered, but it's a 0 day vulnerability, meaning the vendor does not have a solution to it yet. What other control can we put in place to provide a better protection while we are waiting for the vendor to release the solution to that vulnerability? Okay. CVSS, we're going to see that as we move to vulnerability management. It is called a common vulnerability scoring system. It's a tool that is used to give a level or grade to vulnerabilities. It is between 0 to 10, 0 being the less vulnerable and 10 being the most vulnerable, the critical. So CVSS score usually between 0 to 10. The higher it is, that means the higher the vulnerability is. For example, you're going to see some vulnerabilities, they're going to say the CVSS score is 2, which is low. It's not a big deal, right? You're going to see some, we say like the CVSS score is 6 or 7, right? That means it is a little bit medium to high, right? You're gonna see some that say the CVSS score is 8. That is high right there. And you're gonna see some that are gonna say the CVSS score is 10, and that's critical. So remember, CVSS, Common Vulnerability Scoring System. It is a system that is being used to score vulnerability based on the level between 0 to 10. We will see that later on, but I just want you guys also to understand what is a vulnerability assessment. It is a testing process that is being used to identify and assign severity levels to vulnerability. For example, I can go out there, I hire a vulnerability assessor, and I said, okay, come to my organization and perform some assessment. He's gonna come, he's gonna run some scans and discover the vulnerabilities and tell me that, we have like, a lot of critical vulnerabilities, or maybe high vulnerabilities, or medium vulnerabilities, or low vulnerabilities. That allows me to assess my system or my organization for vulnerabilities that could be exploited. All right. So not to be confused with penetration testing, right? Penetration testing is when you go out there, you hire somebody and you ask the person, come into an organization and try to test my system, try to penetrate my system and see if you're going to be able to penetrate. That is different, right? But vulnerability assessment is the fact of assessing a system or an organization for the vulnerabilities, to identify them and classify them based on the severity levels, okay? So usually you're going to hear what's the difference between vulnerability and penetration testing. Vulnerability assessment is literally the fact of discovering the vulnerabilities, the fact of identifying them, the fact of classifying them into low, medium, high, and critical. While penetration testing does the same thing, but penetration testing is actually going to try to penetrate your network, going to try to exploit those vulnerabilities. I want to make sure that it is clear in your mind. Penetration testing really tries to exploit the vulnerabilities and see if they're going to be able to. And if they are, they're going to tell you that's what we did and we're able to penetrate your network. So you need to fix this and you need to fix that. All right. So I think we have it here a little bit. Vulnerability testing, it's the fact of, evaluating application security by identifying, diagnosing, and triaging vulnerabilities. Yeah, you must know also a disaster recovery plan. I mean, I will not even have to forget about IT. Now, what's the disaster recovery plan? Do you have a disaster recovery plan for your life? What is a disaster recovery plan? The name says it. Yeah, Flora, what's a disaster recovery plan?
I think insurance.
It's an insurance. Yeah, in your life, yes, but okay, can you now try to explain to me in the IT, what's a disaster recovery plan? Think about it, disaster recovery plan. The name gives it away.
I think documented and structured approach to recovery and restoring the information system infrastructure.
That is correct. Disaster. Yeah, so, yeah, okay. Ansuman, what will be your explanation of that? Just put the words together. You should be able to, just disaster recovery plan.
Like you said, it's in the words, it's a recovery plan, for a disaster. How are we going to approach it whenever this disaster happens, or this type of disaster happens? This is our plan. This is how we're going to approach it. This is how we're going to try to recover for this. This is how we plan on recovering.
That is right. That is right. Yeah, you guys got it right. It's a plan put in place to kind of think through, okay, today everything is well, but what if tomorrow a disaster strikes? How are we going to recover from that? In IT, it's a very important concept, and I want you guys to understand, in IT, there is what we call a disaster recovery plan. Each company has it. How do we recover from a disaster? What if our data center goes down? What if a fire destroys our data center? What if a hurricane comes, right? How can we recover? Are we going to lose all our data, right? That ties to one of the security objectives that we saw in the beginning of the class. Remember the 3 security objectives? Which one is kind of emphasized here in the disaster recovery plan? the CIA, among the CIA, which one here is in the, you know, is disaster recovery will be part of?
Availability.
Yes, availability. Great. Yes.
Availability.
Great. You guys are thinking great. Yes, we want the data to be available even if a disaster strikes. Yes. Are we going to lose all our data, or do we have backups in place? You know, what can we do to recover from a disaster? Yeah, that is important. So you guys understand that. I think you guys have it here. You know, a disaster is never planned, right? It's always unplanned. It could be a hurricane, it could be a fire, it could be a storm, it could be literally anything that strikes out of the blue. You know, do we need to wait before we start our backups? No, we're going to have our backups already running. That way, if something strikes, our data is still available and we can continue a little bit to operate. So there is another one that is kind of similar, but it's not typically the same. That one is called a BCP, a business continuity plan. What is a business continuity plan? Just put the words together again. Business continuity plan, or they will call it also continuity of operations. Business continuity plan. It's a little bit, they're very similar, but they are different, little bit different, right? Disaster recovery focuses more on how we're going to recover our data, how we're going to recover in case of a disaster, while the other one, the BCP, the business continuity plan, focuses on how to, you guys know it. Anybody want to raise their hand? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, CBD.
It's gonna be the plan you're gonna put in place to keep running the business.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You made my day. Yes. How are you going to, what's your plan to continue operating in case something strikes, right? It's not about recovering your data. That's great, but that is like backward looking. But what about forward looking? What about like how are we going to continue to operate? Yes. You know, that's very important, right? Like the other day here, I was coughing, I was so sick, and I'm so sorry. A lot of people here on the line are sick. I think there is something in the air that we need to really look into. But you know, anyway, I was sick here, I was coughing and I couldn't do anything. And I believe Jacques intervened and he took it over, right? That's an example of a business continuity plan. Like if I were not to be able to give the class today, oh, I'm now gonna die young in Jesus' name. But I'm saying I could be sick, you know, but is there anybody to take over? Is there anybody to continue the plan? That's the question, right? So that's why organizations always spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, if we were to be, stricken by something, how are we going to continue operating? We cannot even like, I know a company who said every time they lose power or anything like that for 5 minutes, they are losing millions of dollars. Yeah. Now, can we have something in place so that we can continue operating? The business cannot stop, right? Unless the entire earth is shaken and all power is out and there is no other solution, right? But how are we going to continue to operate? That's called a BCP, a business continuity plan. So just understand that it's a plan put in place to allow business to continue operating in case of anything. It doesn't matter. So you will see that the difference between a DRP and a BCP is that a DRP focuses more on how we're going to recover our data, right? And a BCP focuses more on the future, how we're going to continue operating, right? So, you know, we saw battery, we saw UPS. Who remember what UPS is all about? Who remember what UPS is? Come on, guys, just raise your hand. I am fired up. I hope you are too.
Redundancy. That's what we do.
Yes.
Redundancy.
Exactly. But what does UPS stand for? The U, the P, and the S. Anybody can remember from the beginning of the class? No, come on, guys. You guys can do this. We saw that in the CIA. Yes, uninterruptible power supply. Yes, that's good. So yeah, it means that even if power goes down, we are going to make sure that we have backup. For example, a battery backup or anything like that, that will allow us to continue operating. That's good. What about what's a single point of failure? It's called SPAF. I'm just giving you guys things that you kind of a single point of failure. I have the definition right there. But think about it. It is a system, right? It's a part of a system. If it fails, it takes down the entire system. Yeah. So that is a typical example of something, for example, like, some families has only one person that they are relying on, God forbid, but if that person dies, the entire family is screwed. That is an example of a single point of failure. It is a part of a system. If that single point fails, the entire system also goes down. So anyway, I want you guys to understand that we already talked about penetration testing. They're also known as pen test or ethical hacking. It is an authorized simulated cyber attack of a computer performed to evaluate a system, whatever. So anyway, now what is a vulnerability management? What is vulnerability management? To go back to Flora, I think she already gave the answer before, but what is the vulnerability management? Why do organizations need to manage their vulnerabilities? Okay, these are two different questions. Number one, why do companies need to manage their vulnerabilities? Anybody?
To reduce the risk.
To reduce the risk, yes, that's a good answer. To reduce the risk. Sibiri.
As I said, preventing is better than curing, right?
Yes, preventing is always better than curing. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. You have to prevent. Vulnerability management is a proactive approach. Good. Charlotte.
Yeah, to prevent future failure.
Future occurrences,
Yes,
incidents.
or future disasters.
Yes, that is true. Yes. Why do you need, just think outside of the box. Anybody, any answer is good, except the one that I say no, except the one that you never gave. All right. Now, Flora, tell me why is vulnerability management important? That's the same question. Why is vulnerability management important? Why do organizations need to perform vulnerability management? That's a question. Yes.
I think to manage vulnerabilities and reduce security risk and to ensure the overall cyber security.
Yes, so managing risks, yeah, that is important, for you to even discover them, right? It's important, right? So that's good. If you don't even discover your vulnerabilities, how are you going to protect your organizations against those vulnerabilities? Okay, that is vulnerability management. Can anybody think anything that you can think? It's like if I ask you, why do you need to secure your house? Just think about it. Yes. Anybody? Yes. Minister Leon.
Because the company needs to keep working, keep living. So
the company needs to keep existing, right?
Existing, yes. So
okay.
Not just to minimize the attack, but how we keep going on.
Okay. Yeah, it is important. Yes. Okay. I agree. I think you guys get good answers. Sibiri, you have any other answer? And then Flora, think about it, guys.
In addition, or in other way to say it, I would like to tell that you need to protect your house. You don't want unauthorized person to get access to your house.
Yes.
You want to keep all your assets in a safe place. That they will be able to, let you keep living.
Okay. Yes. Yes, definitely. What happens if you get sleep and you don't close your house, but you don't close the door? Let's say you don't lock your door. What can happen? That's good. Okay. Think about it from that perspective, guys. I told you guys, sometimes we tend to make IT very complicated, but actually IT is not complicated. Cybersecurity is not complicated because it is part of our regular living. We even do some things that pertain to cybersecurity sometimes, and we don't even recognize that. We don't even know, right? So yeah, that's important. Flora, yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
I think to prevent financial loss.
Yeah, to prevent financial loss. Yeah, that could be, yes, and indirect consequences of, yes, definitely having a vulnerability management process in place. Yes. So that's good. You guys got the idea. And I believe that everybody here really has some good understanding of, why vulnerability management is important. We mentioned here as well, remember last week, I think we said, why is GRC important? You guys answered the question, right? I mean, I think, you guys have some good understanding of, why vulnerability management is needed. Think about it. We mentioned that, who remember the formula for risk? How do you calculate risk? Hello, how do you calculate risk?
Threat times vulnerability.
We're gonna say risk, yes, equals threat times vulnerabilities, right? You see that? R equals T times V. That's good. Now, if we could reduce our vulnerabilities, what are we reducing? Let's give an example. Let's give them values. Let's say, just an example, threat equals, we're gonna give it a number. We're gonna give it a number. Let's say threat equals, let's say 10, all right? And let's say vulnerability equals 5,000. Okay, so if we apply this formula here, R is gonna be 10 times 5,000, which is gonna make it how much?
Can you guys see what Pastor is
Doctor,
writing?
we can't see the board.
You can't see the board? Okay, that's very unfortunate.
Now it's better.
It's better now? So
Yeah.
it might be the
It's
lighting
good
or
now,
something.
It's good now. Oh.
Yeah, lightning.
Okay, the lighting. Okay, so
Look like
now,
you were preaching the wilderness.
yes, I hate to preach in the wilderness because nobody's listening. But here, the reality is that I wanted a blue thing. I think the kids kind of took my blue thing away. Yeah, always come to my office to kind of, I think that was going to be more visible. Sorry. But let's see here quickly. In terms of, okay, so let's say here risk equals 10 and vulnerability equals 5,000. All right. So you guys give me 1 second. I'll find the blue thing to make sure that we are all good here. I'll be back in a minute. All right, perfect. So I was saying that let's just take an example of the relationship between risk, threat, and vulnerabilities. We all know that risk, is it visible a little bit better now? Okay, equals threat times vulnerabilities. Okay, that's what I was saying right there. Are you guys able to see better, a little bit better now? Okay, now we know that to reduce your risk, right, for you to bring down your risk, if you bring down your vulnerabilities, the risk is gonna, right? It's gonna go down, right? Think about it. Now, let's say, for example, the threat is 10 and the vulnerability is 5,000. Okay. Now we said that risk equals threat times vulnerability. So here we have 10 times 5,000. So the risk is going to be how much? 5 times 10,000.
50.
Yeah. So the risk here is going to be 50,000. Okay. Now let's say we are in a situation where we can reduce our risk, our vulnerability. Okay. Let's reduce our vulnerability. Let's say the vulnerability goes from 5,000 to 500. So the risk is going to become how much? Let's say the threat is still 10. The threat does not change. Let's say the threat is still there, the same number, but the vulnerability goes from 5,000 to 500. So the risk is going to become now 10 times 500 equals
5,000.
5,000 instead of 50,000. Isn't that great? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is why vulnerability management is very important, because as you manage your vulnerability, you are reducing your
risk.
Yes. Put it in that, try to visualize it like that. As you are reducing your vulnerabilities, you are reducing your risk. Now, you will remember that in the beginning of the class, I said you can never achieve a level where you have zero risk. You can reduce to an acceptable level. Let's say that leadership said, okay, if our risk is 5,000, this is our acceptable level. This is our acceptable threshold, right? So you see that by remediating your vulnerabilities, you're going to see that your risk level is decreasing, is going down. Isn't that interesting? That's why companies said, okay, we're not going to play with risk management. We're not going to play with vulnerability management. We're going to hire people who has experience in vulnerability management. That's why you need to know vulnerability management. Because some people get hired as vulnerability management engineers. Some people get hired as vulnerability management analysts. And their goal is to just come, use the tools like Nessus, the one that we just saw, Tenable Nessus, Rapid7, Qualys, to scan the environment and remediate the vulnerabilities so that the risk level can decrease, can go down. Wow. I love that. I don't know about you, but I love that. It is, if I were you, I wouldn't play with this part of the class. Okay, I mean, obviously some people come in the class and they don't know everything. Maybe they don't know much about compliance, what we saw last week. But when they get to the vulnerability management, they are really good. And they finish the class and they go, they knock it out and they have the job. That's why you should not play with vulnerability management. There are two things that I would really recommend you not to play with: vulnerability management and incident response. Those two are very crucial. We're going to see incident response in 2 or 3 weeks from now, but already vulnerability management is something that you should really take seriously. Because if you know this, you will get a job. If you know your stuff in vulnerability management, you will get a job. So if compliance has been too complicated for you, it's not the time to discourage yourself. It's not the time to quit. It's not the time to say, this is not for me. It's time to say, can I understand vulnerability management? Can I become an expert one day? Like I told you guys, my 2 students, if you guys want, I will call one next week. If he's available, he will come and testify for you guys. He will come in and encourage you guys. But I'm going to even bring him next week, by the way. I'm going to talk to 2 of them. Maybe one will be available. Come next week and talk to you guys how they went from being nothing to becoming experts today. So next week, please, don't miss. I'm going to have them for like 30 to 45 minutes in the beginning of the class. They're going to come and they're going to talk to you guys about how they became expert in vulnerability management, because we are in that moment. When we get to incident response, I will bring people who also had a job as security analysts, security engineers. They will come and talk to you guys about their experience with incident response as well. I have people in compliance as well, but not a big deal. That you guys are going to have the opportunity to see them. And then at the end of the class, they're going to come as well, talk to you guys. They're going to interview you guys and make sure that you guys are ready for the job market. But in the meanwhile, you should understand that when you reduce your vulnerabilities, you are reducing your overall risk. Because the threat it can be there. The attackers are always there, right? But what will matter is, how do you manage your vulnerabilities? Have you let loopholes? There are so many thieves out there. As long as my house is secure, with locks and an alarm system, and they cannot come in, right? There are always thieves that are going around. You can't prevent them from going around, but you can prevent them from entering your house. Same thing for vulnerability management. Hackers are always going to be there. Bad people are always going to be there, try to exploit. But how do you reduce your risk? By fixing your vulnerabilities. Okay, I'm cool. Any question for me? Flora, if you have any. No question? Okay, Folabi, Chief?
Yes, having a serious issue with the cross multiplication. So if the risk equal to threat times vulnerability, and you now assume that we have 10 threats and vulnerability, which is maybe 5,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So why do I have to multiply problem with problem?
Multiply problem with problem. That's how risk is calculated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Risk is calculated by threat times vulnerabilities. If you want, I can elaborate a little bit more.
Yes, sir, because I don't know why everything is increasing. It's not decreasing because vulnerability is a problem. So threat is also a problem. So we have not multiplied problem with
Pastor.
problem.
I'm quite sure you did not like mathematics in school because you were trying to find what is X. My problem with math in school is I was trying to figure out what is X, what is Y.
I don't know.
And the teacher told me, don't worry about those. I'm like, no, I want to know when you say X plus Y, who is X and who is Y? It's not the point here. The point is not about threat is a problem or vulnerability is a problem. That's not the point. The point is that's the formula to calculate your risk.
Risk.
Okay, let me put it in another way. Jacques, you wanted to say something? Jacques? Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to...
He's mute. He's mute.
Oh, he's talking. Okay.
And he's talking. He doesn't know.
Jacques, you muted. If you are talking, you muted. Jacques, you are muted if you are talking. Okay. I think he's okay, he's not paying attention. Okay, so okay. All right, let's go back. So just wait for me. I'm gonna tell you something here. Let's say a threat, okay? Let's say a hurricane is happening 3 times in a year. Are you watching me?
Yeah.
Okay, a hurricane is happening 3 times a year. So let's say the threat is 3 times.
That's you.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes,
so let's
Pastor,
continue.
I wanted to say something.
What? Oh, you were muted all this time. Give me 1 second. I'll be back to you.
Yeah, I'm
I get
sorry.
back. Okay, I get back to you. So let's say a threat is happening 3 times a year, right? A hurricane is happening 3 times a year. And every time the hurricane comes, it causes a damage of $5,000. Are you listening? Okay, so let's say this is the threat occurring 3 times in a year, and every time it comes, it causes a damage of $5,000. That it finds a vulnerability that it literally exposed. It causes $5,000. Now they want you to calculate what's the risk of you losing money in a year. What's the amount of money that you risk losing in a year? Can anybody try? What's the amount of money that you risk losing in a year?
Is the
15,000?
15,000.
Thank you.
15,000?
Uh-huh. So you are losing a total of $15,000 per year, right? And that is your risk. Like, look, this is a financial risk, but this is a risk that you are losing $15,000 per year. How did you find the $15,000? It's by multiplying the threat by the vulnerability, right?
No, I understand it now. It's good. It's clear now.
Okay. I hope it's clear. Yes, good. I'm
Yeah, it's
happy
clear
now.
now. It's clear now.
Perfect. So that's why they say risk equals threat times vulnerability. Good. Okay. Happy that you got it. Yeah, Jacques, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think you already explained it. So the other day I was just reading, a book about what you just saw, the formula, because in the formula, if you understand this formula, you know what to, to fight against, here, because the formula, it say risk equal, threat time vulnerability. And the example you show here, you took 10 threat multiply by 5,000 vulnerability, and which one should you work on in order to reduce, your risk? Because they think that here, to put it in a real life situation, for example, threat, we take the 10 threat. Let's take, for example, 10 attacker, and you have in your system, you have 5,000 vulnerability in your system. It can be a weak password. It can be whatever kind of vulnerability. Which one can you work to reduce? Because you cannot prevent people from attacking your system. You have 10 attackers. You cannot prevent them. So what you can work on in order to reduce your risk is the vulnerability. You have 5,000 vulnerabilities. Maybe it is a weak, password, it's a, misconfiguration, things like that. You can work on reducing that, because the attacker here, you cannot reduce the attackers. Whatever you do, people are going to be always attacking your system. So if you reduce your vulnerability, you're going to reduce, the risk as well. So this formula, it's everything.
Yep.
That's what I just wanted to add.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Good illustration. Good illustration. Yes. So I hope that helped you understand better. Yes. Judikael, any question?
Yeah, if I get you well, 10 threats means that there are 10 attackers in the system.
Yeah, let's assume that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
How do we define the threat rate in this case?
How do we define threats?
Yeah, the number of attackers. How do we get it?
So
can I help?
Yeah, go ahead, Jacques.
So, okay, when we go by the definition of the threat, it is said that threat is any potential danger to your information system. What does it mean here? It can be a human being. It can be a natural disaster. So it can be anything which can, cause a problem to the confidentiality, to the availability, and to the integrity of your information system. So you see, so when we talk about threats here, don't see like, a person like, an attacker. So anything which can cause, a danger to your information system is a threat. That's why it is said it can be a human-made, it can be a natural disaster, it can be, insider threat, it can be anything like that. So you can work on reducing the vulnerability here, but it is kind of, harder for you, to work on reducing the threat. Can you work to reduce a flood? I'm not sure. Can you prevent that? The fire, maybe you can put, or some system to reduce, or your maybe your company, your building catching fire. You can do that, but those situations are kind of unpredictable. So you can work on more, put it in a place, or some strategies how to reduce the risk, of that happening. I don't know if I make myself understood.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so it is more, easier for you to work on reducing, the vulnerabilities, which is going to help, reduce your risk than, working on, the threat. That's what I understand.
That is correct.
All right.
Yes, that is
Thank
correct.
you.
You said something important. Don't see threat as a just one as a person. It can be a person, but it can also be a natural disaster. It can literally be anything, any potential danger that can compromise the CIA, of the information system. So a threat could be a human-made, it could be natural, it could be anything really that poses a threat that can damage the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information system. All right, great. All right. So
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, good questions, guys. I like the fire. Come on. If you haven't taken your coffee, grab a coffee and we will talk here, man. Yeah, it's okay. Don't take a drink though, because a drink will prevent you from even being in the class. Take a coffee. Yes. Anybody? If you are sick, get up and dance and jump and I run and I'm okay, tough here and there, but no sickness can stop me. All right. So guys, that's amazing, right? Okay. So we understand the concept here. I really love this. So let's go back and to our presentation here, and we will see exactly what vulnerability management is all about. We saw why it is important. We saw, now we're gonna see what it is. What is it, right? So vulnerability management is the ongoing process of identifying, evaluating, reporting, and remediating security vulnerabilities in information systems. Yeah. One thing that I want you guys to remember here is that vulnerability management is the ongoing process. It keeps it's an ongoing. Yes, it's like a cycle. It's like a life cycle. It keeps, you know, rotating, right? And we're gonna see here, you know, so before that, we want to understand what is a vulnerability scanner. We just saw like tenableness is, what is a vulnerability scanner? A vulnerability scanner is a tool. I prefer to say that is a tool. Yes, is a tool that identifies, assesses, and reports known vulnerabilities existing in the targeted system. Yeah, and it can be used to create an inventory of devices residing on the network. Yeah, so I will just, you know, limit it to here for simplicity purposes. A vulnerability scanner is a tool that identifies, assesses, and reports known vulnerabilities in target systems. That is very important. Yeah, these are known vulnerabilities. A vulnerability scanner will try to identify those, and the security analyst, right, or designated personnel must scan for vulnerabilities in systems and hosted applications to detect misconfigurations, software flaws, open ports, outdated software versions, anomalies, and possible vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Yes, so security analyst, I will say that, must scan for vulnerabilities in systems to detect misconfigurations, etc. I want to make things simple for you. That's why I'm removing a couple of sentences that are not necessary. So you can see that here. The security analyst must scan for vulnerabilities in systems to detect configurations, etc., etc. So that's really amazing. Okay, most common vulnerability scanners, tools, for example, like, you know, if you go to an interview, the question that they would like to ask you is, what scanners have you used? What tools have you used to perform vulnerability scanning? You know, Nessus is one of them. So you can talk about Nessus. You know, it's also called Tenable. Be careful. So if you say Nessus and maybe they're gonna call it Tenable, it's the same thing. Don't get confused there. Qualys, you know, you can use Qualys to perform network and application scanning. Nexpose or Rapid7, it's also the same thing. Also, it can be called Insight VM. I know it's kind of confusing, but you know, these are the same too. Somebody will say Rapid7, somebody will say Nexpose, and somebody will say Insight VM. It's the same tool. Web Inspect is one of them. And that's how their logo look like. This is Rapid7, Nexpose, and this is Qualys, and this is Nessus. So just understand that they're the same. Yes, Yahuda, question.
Yes. Is the vulnerability scanners the same as packet sniffers?
No, there is a difference. Packet sniffers usually just capture traffic, okay? They usually don't scan for vulnerabilities. They usually capture traffic. So, and those tools are different. For example, Wireshark is a, you know, sniffer, which is a little bit different from a regular vulnerability scanning tool. So, but they're not the same. Okay. Cool. Any other question here?
Are we going to have a chance to use them? I mean, this one here.
Yes, you're gonna use Qualys and Nessus for sure. Rapid7, it depends if you have any subscription for it, but they don't allow, you know, individual people to kind of download their software, so it's a little bit more complicated thing to use. But Qualys and Nessus, yes, you're gonna use them hands-on.
But You're not able to download the Nessus. I mean, as for me.
Well, yeah, I think you guys should be able to troubleshoot it. And, you know, in the past class, we had some people were running into issues, but yes, as you spend time and sometime it will work for sure. I think in the group work, you guys should really spend time to try to download this. Should work. Okay. And for Qualys, you wouldn't need to download Qualys. I have that subscription. So you guys are going to be accessing my subscription. So there shouldn't be any problem there. Any other question, guys? Okay. All right. So here it says, what is a vulnerability again? You know, who can define me what a vulnerability is? Who can do that? Yes, CBD, go ahead.
I think vulnerability is a weakness to your system.
It is a weakness, okay?
Yes.
That
the system presents.
Okay, I wouldn't say no. It's a yeah, it's an acceptable answer. Who can try to elaborate a little bit more? What is a vulnerability?
It's a weakness that can be exploited by threat actors.
That is correct. Yes, a vulnerability is a weakness or a deficiency that could be exploited by threat actors. Yes, that's correct. Yes. So just to be juicier, like, you know, like I said, always try to, you guys, I'm sure that when, you know, the reason why my students get jobs is because if I train them and they go to an interview, they always speak different. They always stand out, you know, and I believe that you guys also, you know, you can stand out. Like, that's why, like, I told you guys, for example, when you go to an interview and they ask you about FISMA, it's good to say, well, FISMA is Federal Information System Modernization Act, but what can you say that will say, hey, this candidate is different from the 5 others that we interviewed earlier? You know, always say something that will really bring their attention to you. You understand that? So I want to make sure that I take you guys beyond just the regular people who are out there looking for jobs. You know, very important. Anyway, the definition is good. Yes. Always be juicy. Try to always add stuff and make yourself look like, man, you know, I'm coming from a powerful training here. You can't get me. You can't get me. If you start, I will start from the history and tell you. You know, what's a vulnerability? Number one, oh, let me tell you, like, a vulnerability is a weakness or a deficiency in an information system that could be exploited by a threat hacker or threat actor or whatever, right? And you can even go further. You know, it is important to remediate vulnerabilities because hackers tend to take advantage of them. You know, it is important to always say something that will bring their attention to you. That's how I sell myself. I don't know about you, but you will never talk to me and not be impressed by something that I say, because I always watch what I say and I make sure that I hit I was one of my students who were interviewing, and he said, they asked him about vulnerability management, and when he gave the definition, everybody on the line was silent. And guess what? They were interviewing remotely, they muted and they went off video to call each other and say, this is the candidate that we're looking for. And he finished explaining, and it's like, are you guys there? And then they were all muted, and you know, they were like off video, and you know, they call each other and they say, okay, this is the guy that we're looking for. Do you agree? Are you satisfied with the answer? Say, yeah, wow. And then after the interview finished, they told him, yes, you know, the reason why we were muted is because we were trying to find out, you know, we call each other to say that you were the right candidate that we're looking for. You know, he said something that set him apart. You know, be always set apart. for something great, you know, and that's how he got the job. Yeah, so amazing. His name is Franklin. Maybe I will bring him. A wonderful guy. He is more today in the GRC side of things, and yeah, I will probably pull him in, and he will come in and encourage you guys. But yeah, so I want you guys to really stand out. I want you guys to really make it happen. You guys, this is absolutely possible. Cool. Anyway, try to explain why vulnerability need to be remediated. Try to dig deep, give them juice. You ask me for, you know, something, water, I'm gonna give you a nice juice. But don't be careful though. I'm not saying you should get yourself to a point where you are like, you know, bringing unnecessary questions to yourself, but always be on the other side of things. Anyway, let's go here. And we're coming back this again. Vulnerability here, remember, is a weakness. Threat is a potential danger. The risk is the likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability. And we are coming back to the same formula. Why do I like to repeat myself? Because repetition is good. Yeah, repetition is good. If I don't repeat, like, you guys are gonna forget, but you know, keep repeating and, you know, talking, and you know, that's how you guys are gonna get it. You know, my kids, I have to always repeat myself. I also always talk and come back again and make sure that they understand what I want. So that's what I do. Risk equal threat times vulnerabilities. Yes. Chief Afolabi, is that clear now? Okay, good.
I'm good.
All right. Now, what are the common vulnerabilities that you can find in the system? And I want to pick your brain here. Who can tell me what are the common vulnerabilities that you can find in the system? Just think about it out loud. You don't need to be too techy. Just think about it.
An unpassword protected file or server, you know, something without an, a weak password, what Amy said.
A weak password.
Or no password.
Weak password. Yes, a weak password will be a typical example of a common vulnerabilities that you find when you scan your network or your system. Okay, that's good. That's pretty good one. Anybody else? Weak password. Yeah, and Sumana, yeah.
Page left open.
The page or ports?
Any page or any page or server that's like left open.
Okay, yeah, anything that is not password protected was supposed to be protected, or even a physical door even that you left open is a vulnerability. I don't want, but here we are talking about when you scan. So yeah, yeah, an open port. Yes, for example, Flora.
Insider threats and zero-day attacks.
Insider threat and zero. Be careful, because insider threat is not discovered through scanning,
Malicious
right?
Employee. No.
What's that?
Malicious employee, no?
Yeah, but that's not how. Well, how if you use the tool to scan, will you discover a malicious employee? No.
Okay. So
like when you scan a system or a network, yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's a vulnerability, right? But when you scan a system, what do you discover?
Okay, in patch legacy system.
Yes, legacy systems that are not patched, systems that have not been patched. Yes, that's a great thing. That's a great answer. Yes, things that have not been patched, very important. Okay, anybody else? Think about it. What can be a vulnerability that you think? You just think about it when you scan a system.
Malware?
A malware is a threat rather than a vulnerability. So be careful a little bit.
Okay.
A malware will be considered as a threat and not a vulnerability. Yeah.
What about open ports?
Open ports, yes. Ports that are supposed to be closed, but you left them open. Yes, that could be a vulnerability. Think about it. If port 22, which is used to do SSH, right? You know, port 22 is used for Linux. If you want to remote into a Linux system, you use port 22. And if you want to remote into a Windows system, you use RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Now, if you don't close those ports and they are open to the internet, what does that mean? It means anybody from anywhere can connect to your ports, can connect to your system. So that's a vulnerability right there. Good. Anybody can think of anything?
Software flaw.
Software
flaw.
Virus threats.
Huh?
Virus threat.
Virus threat. A virus threat will be, a virus is more like a threat. Yeah, a virus is a threat rather than a vulnerability.
Oh.
So yes, I want to really draw your attention on that. A lot of people tend to make that confusion between a threat and a vulnerability. Yeah. But just
I just want to add something, because some people are talking about insider threat, malware, and virus. I think those are in the category of threat vectors, things which can cause the threat.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But they are not vulnerability per se. So yes.
Exactly.
Good point. So yeah, be careful with there. Yeah.
What about missing data encryption?
Missing data encryption. You want to say more like outdated encryption algorithms, right? Let's say you are using an algorithm that is no longer valid.
Yes.
Or yeah, that is a vulnerability. That is acceptable. Yes. Outdated, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Somebody said, Amy said, not using an antivirus to protect your system. That is, okay, so when you scan, you're now going to discover that, right? It's like, it's more like, yeah, I understand it's a vulnerability, but it's not like a technical thing that the tool will discover. We're talking about things that the tool will discover and say, hey, this is a vulnerability right there. An encrypted PII. Yeah, that is, yeah, I would say unencrypted channels. Yes, I will say that. Unencrypted channels. Yes, for example, protocols that are used and they do not encrypt the data, that is a vulnerability. Yes. So that is a vulnerability, correct. Ansuman, anything that you want to add?
Now, what about a network that has public access, whether it has a password or not? It still is, I guess, accessible to the public.
Oh yes, public.
Anybody
yes.
can.
That's a great answer. Yes, meaning like literally ports that are open to the public. That's what it means. Publicly, and externally facing ports that are not closed. Yeah, that is a vulnerability. I agree with that. That's a vulnerability right
using
there.
a VPN or anything like that. So you are literally right there for the taking if you're not well protected.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. So lack of misconfiguration, that could be classified also as security misconfiguration. Instead of having a firewall that protects your network, you configure it to be open to the entire world. Yes, that is called a security misconfiguration. That's a great point. Flora.
I wanted to say clear text credentials.
Yes, clear text credentials. Yes, for example, username and password are supposed to be encrypted and it is not encrypted. I think that kind of joins a little bit to what Amy said, an encrypted PII. But be careful because password and username are not considered PII. I know it's weird. It's sensitive information, but they're not PII. But yes, unencrypted credentials. Yes, clear text credentials is definitely a problem. Good. Okay, guys, think about whatever you want. If I do ask you right now, what can be a vulnerability at your house? You tell me.
So, Pastor, it's like nobody say anything about default account, which is really important, right?
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, definitely. We're gonna definitely cover it. But yeah, default account is definitely a problem, a serious problem that need to be addressed. Okay, I think you guys are good. Unsecured API, yes, that one I agree, Amina, too. That is really, really important. An API that's not secured, an API that is exposed is definitely a vulnerability. Yes. API is application programming interface. Good. Anybody else? Yeah, but we got it. We got you guys fired up. And I like that. I like that participation, guys. Keep it up, okay? Keep it up. You know, my only discouragement will be to say like nobody is understanding what I'm saying. That can be really very discouraging. But if you guys understand, I'm very happy. Yeah, go ahead, Ansumana.
Now, was there like a big vulnerability? My apologies. Was there a big one that we missed that we haven't mentioned that we should definitely know?
I think you guys mentioned most of the things. The one that Jacques brought up was a default account. We're gonna see that one, what it is, but I think you guys covered most of them. So that's good.
Beautiful.
Yes. Okay. So here you guys can see, you know, I line out. You guys did well. You guys really got, you know, you got like weak password. You guys, I mean, the default account is what, for example, Jacques mentioned. Let's say you buy a new device from Cisco, or, you know, usually they have a password and a username that they come up with, right? A lot of people and a lot of organizations, some organizations may forget to change those passwords and that username, and that becomes a vulnerability because hackers know the default accounts and they always try them. So if you don't change them, they're gonna, you know, log in and mess you up. For example, Cisco switches come with like the password is Cisco and the username also is Cisco. If you buy and you didn't change it, man, you see how you're gonna expose yourself, you know. Misconfigurations, the typical example, when Ansumana said, for example, you forgot to configure your firewall, you know, to protect your network. Instead, you configure it to open to the internet. For example, instead of deny all, you say allow all. That becomes a problem, right? Outdated operating system or legacy operating systems. For example, Windows 7. I don't think anybody here is using Windows 7, right? Because the support ended in January, 2016. So if you are using a Windows 7 here, my friend, you are in a bad position, right? Windows 8 was, the end of support was in 2020, meaning that Microsoft no longer releases patches for Windows 8, right? Devices running either version of Windows no longer receiving any security update. If you are running this, you are no longer receiving security updates. But the bad news is that some companies conceive their applications only to run on these legacy systems, and they cannot migrate immediately. So they will have to keep them until they find a solution. So I worked at a company where they were still using Windows Server 2003. It is outdated. No patches. I say, why can't you guys move? They say, no, our applications only works on Windows 2003. So if we try to shut these servers down, our applications are gonna go down. So we need to change the code of the application to accept Windows 2012 or something like that, Server 2016 or 2019. But that takes time, right? So that's why companies will always, some companies are still using legacy operating systems, and it becomes a vulnerability for them. So, and patch systems that are not patched. I told you guys that Microsoft releases patches every second Tuesday of the month. Now there are some systems that are not patched, and that is a vulnerability right there. Yes, I will definitely get back to you. Give me 1 second, please.
Okay.
The unused open ports. That means ports that are not open, that are not used, but you open them. That becomes a problem. Weak cipher and unsupported protocols. Yes, we have a, weak cipher algorithm, encryption algorithm. So if you are still using them, and unsupported protocols, for example, SNMP, SMTP 25, the one that is used to send emails, is no longer, supported. So if you are using these things, you are vulnerable. Okay. Yes, Yahuda, go ahead and ask your question now.
Yeah, my question regarded the operating system, the outdated operating system or legacy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be conceivable that an outdated system will be more secure? Let me finish. In a way that since threat actors will not be really focused on those systems since they are they're outdated, they will be more focused on the new ones.
Who told you they won't be focused on those? Tell me.
I mean, I'm just trying to think as a threat
I
actor,
understand.
right?
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, regarding behavior, right?
Yeah.
If a store no longer have a security, it means that store doesn't have something valuable inside. So why waste my time going there? I rather go to a secure store, knowing that they might have something in there that they are securing. All right.
I'm sorry, but that's not how it works. Because even though a system could be old, like remember I told you that there are some applications only, maybe the company when they were developing the application, they didn't think about, oh, what if a new server comes? They said, okay, let's take the example of Windows 2003, Server 2003. Some company are hosting very important information in those servers still because they cannot migrate the applications. If they do, the application is going to break. The functionality of the application is going to break. So they still have to keep the database and all those applications on those legacy servers. So even though they are legacy, they still contain a wealth of information that attackers will be targeting. And guess what? Sometimes the system may not even contain the information, but it can be an entry door to the network, right? Maybe you updated, maybe you have a 1000 Windows servers 2019 up to date, but there is only one server 2003 that you have not patched. And the attacker is going to use that server to penetrate the network and then perform what we call a lateral movement, right, to get to the updated servers. So you see that only legacy system becomes a weakest point that the attacker can even have access to your network. And then from there, they're going to establish their foothold. They can, RDP to other servers and cause a lot of damage there. So still,
yeah, knowing that, but why is the company you mentioned, why do they keep that risk, which is pretty high? Why not just update and secure their system?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. The reason why they have to keep those systems is because their applications were built based on those servers, those legacy systems. And an application, you cannot go just from one day to another to just change and say, well, let's upgrade, right? So the application has been written to run on the Windows 2003. Now we have to upgrade to like our Windows Server 2016 or 2019. But if you move the application to that window 2016 or 19, it's not going to work because it is conceived to run on the Windows 2003, right? So the proper way is to get people who know how to modify the code of the application, be able to upgrade the application first before moving the application and before you can now decommission the Windows 2003 server. But trust me, that takes a long time. It takes months or even years to do that. That's why companies sometimes will fall back and they have legacy systems. They cannot get rid of them because they are still doing something. If you stop them, you're going to stop a lot of operations in the organization, but they have to still run on old servers because they cannot support new servers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it will cost a lot of money as well.
It costs a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of time. So it's not an easy thing, as we think it could be. Good. Any other question? All right, guys. I'm excited. Let's see. I know we're going to take a break and come back. But we want to cover common network vulnerabilities and attacks. You know, denial of service. I'm quite sure you guys already heard that. You know, Arab cache poisoning, packet and protocol abuse. All these are attacks that you know, attackers use to attack networks. Spoofing, you can spoof your IP address or spoof your email address just to pretend as if you were legit. Brute force attack, you know, is when the attacker try to use all username and credentials and try to break into a system. Man in the middle, it's when somebody intercept information or hijack the session in the middle and pretending to be, you know, like nothing is happening. Session hijacking is when somebody is able to hijack the session, etc. So these are, you know, remember that denial of service attack is whenever the attacker is want to shut down a machine or a network, making it accessible to the intended user by flooding the target with traffic or sending it information that triggers a crash. Yeah, sometimes the attackers can like flood a server with fake traffic, right? They're going to create a lot of bots, and the bots are going to try to talk to the legitimate server, preventing the legitimate users from connecting to that server. You see? So Arab cache poisoning, you can read them, but anyway, these are common attacks that, you know, are being used. So again, don't confuse attack and vulnerabilities. You know, it could be a little bit confusing, but just try to understand that the attack is what the attacker is trying to do, and the vulnerability is the weakness that is literally being exploited. Maybe here I need to say common network attacks because it is not vulnerabilities here. I think it is most like attacks. All right. Okay, so let me see if we will find, and we continue here. You can have like, you know, social engineering. We already saw that, I guess. Yes, we already saw that in the class, and we already saw as well things like insider threat, you know, malicious employees, etc. We saw zero-day attack is just think in your mind, you know, we have zero-day vulnerability is a vulnerability that has not been, you know, the patch is not yet available. A zero-day attack is when an attacker literally exploit that zero-day vulnerability. That's what it means. You know, it's an attack that is, you know, designed, and even the vendor has not discovered that vulnerability yet or that type of attack yet. So unnecessary running open port and past legacy systems and encrypted channels, clear text, you know, credentials and secure protocols. Yes, I think we have that secured pretty good. All right, so we will come back and we're going to go deep into each of those vulnerabilities for you guys to understand what they are. But in the meanwhile, let's take a break, 30 minutes, and we will come back. Is that cool? All right, guys, I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys in 30 minutes. Are we good? Are you fired up? Yes, I am. Oh, have you get your coffee? Yes, I have gotten 2 cups already. Yes, I've gotten 2 cups already. Actually, I got one. It's not even a coffee. It's a tea. Either way, I'm good. We can move forward. All right. Those who are sick, know that you are healed right now. All right. See you guys in 30 minutes, guys. Yeah. All right. Let's see an example of common vulnerabilities, weak passwords. You can see that weak passwords are passwords that are too short, too simple, or too common. This includes popular word or character from the dictionary. For example, airplane 123 or princess or personal information such as username, such as name, birthday, or address, right? Just I can give you guys a list of common passwords here, right? If you click on this link, you're gonna see the list of common passwords that people like to use. All right, here, just take a look, and you can see those common passwords here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So these are common passwords. I'm sending it in the chat for those who want to just take a look really quick. Just take a look here. Click, and you're gonna see those passwords here. They are a lot of them. So these are, you look at the friends, Jesus one, or Oliver, or, you know, these are called common passwords, all right? Weak passwords. They are passwords that are common for attackers to guess. So they can easily guess those passwords and be able to log into your accounts. So there are vulnerabilities. Weak password can quickly be identified using password cracking software tools such as John the Ripper and Cain and Abel. Yes, that's you know, which reveals secret password from data that has been stored or transmitted by a computer system. To avoid weak passwords, use MFA to enforce complex password requirements. Yes, so you can enforce complex password requirements or use multiple factor authentication. Complex passwords are typically over 8 characters long. The more the better, and a mix of character types, letter, numbers, and symbol. Example, password length, upper and lowercase, number, on special character, no reuse, and password age, etc. So these are things that you can use to make password more secure. Default accounts. Default accounts are factory default username and passwords that are pre-configured for a new network device. For example, a router. A router will come like, you know, the username can be admin and the password is password. So these are default accounts and you must change them. Default account name and password should be changed immediately when hardware or software is turned on for the first time. Yes, so you should turn them on and change that password quickly. Misconfigurations are incorrect ways components are run in an information system that may lead to vulnerabilities. Misconfiguration is primarily caused by human error. Think about it when you are, you know, doing like a firewall configuration, and you open instead of you say deny, you allow, so that can be a problem. Example of areas to check for misconfiguration: usually outdated software, unnecessary services, incorrectly authenticated external systems, security settings that have been disabled, debugged, enabled in a running application. Outdated software and legacy systems. What's an outdated software? An outdated software is a software that is no longer supported by the vendor. This means that any vendor, any newfound vulnerabilities or bugs will not be addressed or patched. For example, Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows Server 2003 and Windows Server 2008. These are called legacy systems because they are no longer supported by Microsoft. All right. What is a legacy system? A legacy system is an outdated computing software and or hardware that is still in use. The system still meets the need it was originally designed for, but it does not allow for growth or updates. A legacy system's older technology won't allow it to interact with newer systems. So just know that. That's why legacy systems, we already saw these. Patch systems, you know, vendors are regularly releasing patches to update their systems. For example, Microsoft Patch Tuesday occurs on the second Tuesday of every month. Patch software may contain known security weaknesses, and patch vulnerabilities refer to weaknesses that allow attackers to leverage a known security bug that has not been patched by running a malicious code. So, unused open ports. There are a total of 65,535 ports. Yes, port 0 to 1023 are called well-defined, called well-known ports. And port 1024 to port 49151 are registered port, and the remainder of the port are dynamically used by applications. So just understand a couple of ports that you need to know. I put them on the right side, but you know, RDP is used to remote to a Windows machine, and SSH is used to remote to a Linux machine. Okay, but some open port could constitute vulnerabilities, specifically, especially if they are externally exposed and they're not being used. That can be a problem. TCP versus UDP. TCP is a connection-oriented protocol, whereas UDP is a connection-less protocol. UDP is much faster, simpler, and efficient protocol than TCP. TCP is slower than UDP. We will see that later on. Just understand that for computers to communicate, they use two types of protocol: TCP, which is transmission, control protocol, and UDP, which is user datagram protocol. Either way, TCP is requires connection between the two devices. UDP is connectionless. But here I put the ports that you guys should know. For example, if you say port 20 is FTP, port 22 is SSH, port 23 is Telnet, port 25 is SMTP, 53 is DNS, 67 is DHCP, 80 is used for HTTP, and HTTPS uses 443. The protocol that they use are here. Some ports use TCP while some use UDP. You should be able to kind of remember those, at least learn from them. We want to see them more, but just to introduce you what ports are. Ports are just open so that computers may communicate with each other. For example, if you are sending an email, the email is going to use a port called SMTP, port 25, right? It is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And the other computer is going to also receive it using port 25, right? So this allows computers to talk to each other. If you are navigating a website, let's say you are going Google, you're going to use HTTPS because that's 443 used for websites, and each of the things that the data and all this communication, the interconnection between computers are using things that we call ports and protocols that they use to communicate to each other. And on those ports, there are services that run on those ports and protocols. And you guys will get familiar with it as we go along, but I wanted to introduce you to those ports. And there are a total of 65,535 ports, that you need to have an idea of what they are, but you don't need to retain everything, okay? I'm giving you commonly used ports that you need to know here on the right side. Weak ciphers and insecure protocols. Yeah, we just mentioned the ports here. Insecure protocols can allow attackers to easily gain access to your data. For example, like Telnet uses port 23. It is now replaced by SSH. FTP is 21, now replaced by FTPS, which is still using 21 or 990. HTTP is now replaced by HTTPS. SMTP is now replaced by IMAP. But I want you to understand this. Some ports are now deprecated. They are no longer secure. So they are called insecure protocols, and companies should avoid using them. Okay, for example, port 80, if you use port 80, it means that the website has no security, and that can be a big problem. And you can see as well, like port 21 is no longer used. Company try to replace it with like FTPS, meaning like file transport protocol secure, right? And SMTP is being replaced by IMAP because it's no longer secure. So you can see that a company might still be using those unsecure protocols, and that might constitute vulnerabilities. Okay, vulnerability rating and database. We talked about, the vulnerability metrics, right? We want to talk about CVSS score. Vulnerability severity is calculated using the CVSS score. It is called Common Vulnerability Scoring System, so CVSS. Retain that because we're going to be using that a lot as we go. CVSS is a free and open industry standard to assess and communicate the severity and characteristics of software vulnerabilities. So CVSS has a website. We're going to see it soon that you can go, and for each vulnerability, it is recorded there. They try to record the maximum number of vulnerabilities there. I'm not saying it has 100% of the vulnerabilities, but it has at least 95% or more of the vulnerabilities that are discovered, because it calculates the severity of the vulnerabilities discovered on the system and it prioritizes them for remediation. So we'll see that. So the National Vulnerability Database try to use CVSS score, right, to rate the vulnerabilities and store them in a database. It is public, anybody can access and take a look. So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST sponsors the NVD by recording detailed description of known vulnerabilities on their sites. That's important. Yes, NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology. I guess you already know that from what we saw last week, right? They record every vulnerabilities that come out. NIST is going to record it by giving it a specific number where you can definitely see how it's noted. So for your information, this is how a vulnerability is going to be recorded. It is called CVE. It is called Common Vulnerability Enumerator dash the year of the vulnerability and a number. Okay, that number could be the order by which the vulnerability came. So you can see if you take this CVE, you can tell the CVE was discovered in 2017 and it has a specific number in it. But yeah, CVE dash year dash number. That's very important. That is how, you know, the National Vulnerability Database is trying to keep, you know, those vulnerabilities. So if you go to this website here, you're going to see that NVD, which is the National Vulnerability Database. Okay, I'm sending the link in the chat for you guys here. Just go to this site that is currently here and you will see. All right, so click there and it should take you here. This is how the National Vulnerability Database looks like. You can see that it is sponsored by NIST. You can see that NIST is using this to record, literally like record all the, to keep a record of all the vulnerabilities I've ever discovered. So if you go to search, you can literally see, you can search for CVE vulnerabilities, products or checklist. So let's just check here. All right, when you click here, you can see all the vulnerabilities that NIST has ever recorded, right? So for example, I told you it is noted like CVE-year, let's say 2013, for example, and then a random number. I don't know if it exists, but let's just pick a random number and see if it is going to exist. When you click enter, okay, for this vulnerability, there is nothing like this, but literally you should be able to see anything that has, that 2013. So let's just click CVE-2013 and see if it's going to give us anything right here. So I'm going to say it's CVE-2013. And when you click, it's going to pull you all those vulnerabilities that are listed in 2013. You can see one here, 2023. It's because, we just entered the keyword. It's looking for anything that has those numbers. But look here, 2013, for example, you can see, and that's the rating, CVSS score version 3. That's what they use. So you're going to see 9.8. It is critical. Black is going to be critical. Red is going to be high. And orange is going to be medium. And I believe low must be just like, sometimes it is marked as green. But you can see here that if you read this, this is a critical vulnerability that they published. Now, if you click on the vulnerability here, you're going to see all the details about the vulnerability here, and they're giving you the references. They're giving you other links that you can follow. They're giving you so many other details that you can read about the vulnerability. Ansuman, any question?
Now that CVSS score. Do you want it to be high or do you want it low? Like, does the high point, like, does it indicate that it's, you know, it's very high in its vulnerability, or as the high score indicates that it's very well protected, like there's lack of vulnerability?
No, the higher it is, the worse it is.
Okay.
Yes, high means yes. CVSS classifies between 0 to 10, 10 being the most critical that you can have, and the 0 means it's not that bad. That's what it means.
So the goal is to have the lowest score possible.
Absolutely. The goal here is to make sure you keep at least the environment not affected with critical vulnerabilities, because critical means that really any attacker can really attack it quickly and exploit the vulnerability.
All right, makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, I want you guys to examine this vulnerability here that I'm going to send. I want a volunteer to share the screen and take us really quick through this vulnerability here, and we will take it from there. A volunteer to share the screen. I'm going to stop sharing right now. You know, to share the screen and click on the link that I sent, and we will take a look at it together. Anybody? Yeah, Ansuman, go ahead.
All right, it's a chance to redeem myself from the failed download attempt of the Nessus agent.
It's not your fault at all. It happens. I think it's just something that they have. And
I think I have to log into my administrator side on the computer. Oh, looks like somebody's sharing the screen. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right, there we go.
Alrighty. So yeah, you clicked on the link right here. So we are looking at CVE details, CVE 2017. Who can tell me what year the CVE came out?
2017.
Yeah, 2017. That's good. Remember, it's CVE dash year dash a random number. Okay, perfect. So what is it about? Who can read the description really quick for us?
A vulnerability was found in true core service for
server.
Server, sorry. It has been rated as problematic. Affected by this issue is some unknown functionality of the file /admin /conferences/list. The manipulation of the argument DOMS XSS leads to basic cross-insert scripting /DOM. The attack may be launched remotely. The exploit has been disclosed to the public and may be used.
Thank you. So for any CVE that you're going to open, you're going to see the CVE number, you're going to see the description. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the severity. You see the severity. What does the severity say? Go to CVSS 3, version 3X, 3.x, where it says severity on the top. And Suman, if you click CVSS, yeah, right there, yeah. Perfect. Yes. Oh, is that you sharing your screen? Okay. Yeah. Yes. So what is the base score? It's medium, right?
It's medium.
Yeah. So I want you guys. I want to draw your attention here. Be careful not to confuse this with the NIST. You know, it's completely two things that are different. You know, the system categorization say low, moderate, or high. It doesn't say medium. Okay. For vulnerabilities, it say it is either low, medium, high, and critical. So you know, in the past, I've seen students confusing them. It is not related. Okay, it is not related. So I just wanted to make sure that we are good here. All right. So good. Okay. Now go down. You're gonna see the references, the advisories, the solutions, and everything else. You can see there. Yes. So they're going to give you more links. If you want, you can click on those to kind of read more. But anyway, here you can read the details about the vulnerabilities and how you can remediate the vulnerability. That's really amazing, isn't it? So that's good. So scroll down quick. Yeah. As you go down, you can see the change story. If it's been ever changed, the change history is going to show here. But I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. So CVE, this is you know, the NIST that is doing NVD, the National Vulnerability Database. I'm not too fan of their GUI, but we're going to see another site that you can look into as well. But just understand that, you know, NIST try to register all those vulnerabilities in a record in a database. You can go look for them and see more details about them. Is that clear? Yes. Okay. CBD, question here.
Yes, maybe I did miss something. CVE, what does the E mean?
Common Vulnerability Enumerator.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it enumerates the vulnerability, tries to kind of list all the details. Yes, that's what it means. Good question. Okay, yeah, CVE, Common Vulnerability Enumerator. Okay, thank you for sharing your screen. I'm going to take over again. And then we are going to continue. And now I want you to still go to that site and search for this vulnerability that I'm going to send here. I want 2 volunteers to read it quickly for me, please. We don't have time. You know, let's read it quickly. A volunteer, if you want to share your screen, you know, search for this CVE. I want you to search it on the NVD, on the National Vulnerability Database, and show me exactly what you see. Anybody to share their screen? Just go ahead and share if you want to share it. You don't have to raise your hand. Just go ahead and share. Anybody? 1 person and 2nd person. So there are 2 people, 1st person and 2nd person. Who want to do that really quick? Let's go. Let's go. Nobody? Come on, guys. Anybody? Thank you. All right. Yeah, let's find the first one. CVE. Yeah, just copy and paste it in the keyword search and you'll be good. Yeah. CVE 2023 44 487. There you go. Search. Okay, perfect. So what is the severity of this vulnerability? What is the severity?
It's high.
Yes, it is high. Good. Who can read me a little bit about the description of the vulnerability? You see, that used to be CVSS 3. They just came up with CVSS version 4. That one is mostly not available yet, but I can see that they brought it. So yeah, it used to say that things are changing quick. Who can read me the description of the vulnerability?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the HTTP/2 protocol allows the denial of service server resource consumption because request cancellation can reset many streams quickly, as exploited in the wild in August through October 2023.
Thank you so much. This is telling you that the HTTP2 protocol allows the denial of service. You can see that it is a vulnerability that they want you to correct quick. Like as you scroll down, you're gonna see that there are references and they have solutions that you can search for and all kind of things. You can follow those lists if you want to learn more, but you know, it's a lot of information, you know, to allow the people to fix the vulnerability. Now I have a question for you guys. Do hackers use NVD or no? Or is just for security analysts?
I mean, I think, yes. I mean, everything has some type of vulnerability if, you know, if you have the right skills. no, I think hackers can, get some insight, but I don't think, they'll get all the tools or knowledge they need. But, I'm sure, that's probably where they'll start.
Yep. Yeah, just the same way we use NVIDIA to do some research and try to fix the vulnerability. Hackers also are using NVIDIA to have more information about the vulnerability and how to exploit it. That's why, exactly, so they know what they attack. Yes, good, Ami. So we don't sit down and just say, while we are defending, we don't need to do anything. Hackers also use these resources that are available to see what are the way of exploiting it. So it's very important. If you refuse to fix your vulnerability, somebody else is going to fix it for you. So that is a typical example of the vulnerability that we can search. Great. Thank you, Ansuman. Who else want to try for the second CVE ID? We want to read that one quick too as well. Who want to try? Volunteers, guys, come on. It's not difficult. You just share your screen and just take that thing and paste there and research. Is that difficult? Yeah, thank you, Minister. Yes. So just take us to the NVIDIA site and then search for that vulnerability that is there. Mr. Leon, are you there? Okay, are you there? Okay, he's not talking. Minister Leon, are you there?
Unmute yourself first.
What's that?
I'm asking him to unmute himself.
Oh. Yeah, I think he's
sorry.
muted.
I'm sorry. I'm here. Oh, I was looking to unmute myself. Sorry. So.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, go to the NVIDIA site. Well, right now we can just see your desktop.
Okay. To go to the site, I have to go to a reaction, right? Over there and click on the site.
No. I sent the link in the chat.
Okay.
I did send the link, the NVIDIA link in the chat. Go there and search for the second CVE ID. I'm resending it again in the group chat. Zoom. Yeah, there you go. Now go to search on the bottom.
Yes.
You see search? No, where it says search. On the left side of the screen, at the last option, yeah, right there, it says search. Click there. Yes. Now I want you to search for that CVE that I just sent in the group. I think it is CVE 2023. Yeah, click on vulnerability CVE. Yeah, no. Okay, go back to search again. Yeah, vulnerability CVE, right there. Go to the, yeah, right there, and then search for CVE 2023. You see that one that I just put in the chat?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
CVE
dash 2023 dash 7024.
Dash 2023.
No, not slash. That's slash. Dash. So yeah, you have to remove the exclamation mark. Yeah. Dash 7024. And then, yeah, if you press search. Yes. Okay, you can see what is the severity of this vulnerability?
It is high.
It is high. Yes. Can you read me the description, please?
Okay, the description. They want to say heap buffer overflow.
Yeah. It's a heap
so
buffer overflow in
heap
WebRTC. Yes.
Yeah, in Google Chrome prior to 120.10.6090.129 allowed a remote attacker to potentially exploit heap corruption via a crafted HTML page.
That is correct.
For
yes.
renewal
So
security severity.
Yes. So click on the actual vulnerability ID. Click on the actual vulnerability ID. No, on the bottom. The ID, the CVE 2023-704. You see the number on the left. Click on that, and then it will open up and give you more information about the the advisory, the solutions, and things that you can look. So that is how you search for vulnerabilities. Yes, as you go down, you can read more here and find some other links that you can follow to find the solution to the vulnerability. But here, you can see that it is absolutely a lot of information, for people to be able to research and see how they can remediate the vulnerabilities. Are we good? That's easy, all right? So that's how you search for vulnerabilities, and we're gonna come to that. Thank you guys for sharing your screens. And we're gonna go back again to the presentation. Alrighty, so there is another site. I like this site better. It is called cvedetails.com. You can go there. I'm going for the sake of time, I'm not going to waste time, but I want again to go quickly here and show you guys what these are. You can see that this is called the cvedetails.com. This will give you also the details about any CVE that you have. So for example, let's take a look at the CVE that we just examined. If you press search here, you can see that it is going to give you also information about the CVE. It's literally like, more details, I will say. But yeah, this gives you a lot of details. You can read here, you can read everything and understand how those vulnerabilities. But yeah, this is how cvedetails.com looks like, and it is literally giving you every potential information that you may want to be able to understand the vulnerability. All right, so with that being said, there is another website also. Don't worry, I'm gonna send that in the cve.org. Same thing, but we're not gonna spend time on this. I just want you to understand how to search for vulnerabilities. And here, we are talking about the rating, the severity rating, the NVIDIA Support 2 scoring system version 2 and version 3. I need to update that because now I just saw version 4. Literally today, I'm telling you, I just saw it today. Maybe it's been there, but it's literally a couple of days ago that they probably put it. Now you will be wondering, like, what version should I use? Just use version 3. Okay, just use version 3 rating, and you can see that NVIDIA National Vulnerability Database provides qualitative severity ratings for CVSS base score and CVSS 3, right? The CVSS score ranges from 0 to 10. You can see here between 0. We're now going to take let me make sure that we look at the last one. That's most important. So I'm just going to cross this one out because we no longer use this one, but we're using this one here. So it is saying that if the score is 0, it means the severity is no one. We don't really, we count this as like, okay, non-existing. Between 0.1 to 3.9, they're going to say it is low. 4.0 to 6.9 is medium, and 7.0 to 8.9 is high. 9.0 to 10.0 is critical. So you can see that the vulnerabilities are rated between low, medium, high, and critical. That is the current rating that we are using. Now, there is a process. A common question that a lot of students come when they go to their interview is, how do you perform vulnerability management at your organization? What's your experience with vulnerability management? You can answer this question by using a process, okay? And here is the process. Number one is to discover your vulnerabilities, right? I call it, these are, I don't call them like steps, but they are more like a process, right? You want to discover your vulnerabilities first. That's the vulnerability management process. You discover your vulnerabilities and you prioritize and assess them. You're going to report these vulnerabilities to the correct team for remediation, and the correct team is going to remediate. So, and number 5, to finish, you're going to validate to see if the remediation has been successful. And then it goes again to discover. So it's like a life cycle. It is like discovery, prioritizing and assessing, reporting, remediation, and validation. So you can see that it's a process. Discover the vulnerabilities, right? Assess and prioritize them, report those vulnerabilities, remediate those vulnerabilities, and validate those vulnerabilities. That is very important. So that's why we said that vulnerability management is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing. And you can never find in an organization where they say, we remediated all our vulnerabilities and we don't need to do anything anymore. Why? Because it's the process, right? New vulnerabilities always come up. And there is not a single company that I know about or that I heard about that ever said, we remediated 100% of our vulnerabilities, because it's not going to happen, right? So it's a process, it's ongoing, it doesn't stop, right? Process of discovering, right? Prioritizing and assessing, reporting, remediating, and validating. What does that mean? We're going to see what each one of those entails. But if you have questions, please ask me. But this is very crucial. I want you guys to know this process, because once you know this process, you are good. How do you perform vulnerability management? You remember the students that I said became expert in vulnerability management? They went to the question, they went to the interview and they asked them those questions. How do you perform vulnerability management? They said the first thing is to discover my vulnerabilities. By doing what? By scanning. You're going to perform a scan, right? And number 2, once those can come back, you're going to generate a report and assess those vulnerabilities and prioritize them. Okay, what is the most critical ones? Right? For example, if you have a vulnerability that has a score of 10 and another one has a score of 2, which one will you remediate first? Right? The one that has 10. Why? Because it is more critical, right? So you want to assess and you prioritize them, and you want to report it to the correct remediation team. Let's say usually the remediation team will be the IT team or the application team. These teams are in charge of remediation. Just remember that as a cybersecurity analyst, your primary goal is not to remediate. All right? I'm not saying you should never remediate, but your primary goal is not to remediate. You should scan, bring it to the attention of the IT team, tell them that these are the vulnerabilities that are found in our environment. You guys should apply the patches. You should correct the findings. You should remediate those vulnerabilities. And once they remediate, you go now to validate by running a validation scan to see how many vulnerabilities have we been able to remediate and how many are remaining. Is the remediation successful? And then the cycle goes on and on again. It's like the earth, it keeps evolving, it keeps revolving around the sun, and that is how it has to be. Vulnerability management is dynamic, it keeps changing. The target is moving, new vulnerabilities are coming. Servers are being decommissioned, devices are being offboarded, etc., etc. So you need to keep track of all these cycle. That's why it's called a process. It goes around, it never stops. All right, good. Sibiri, go ahead.
I had a question, but I think I got the answer through your explanation. That was about validate and remediate, but I got the answer.
Oh, got you. Okay, perfect. I'm happy that you already found the answer in the explanation. So that's good. So let's move forward quick and see what does the discovery stage means. The discovery stage means what? The discovery stage means that is the first steps of the vulnerability management cycle. Now, it involves using a vulnerability scanning tool to discover the assets and vulnerabilities in an environment. Remember, we saw the tools, we saw Nessus, we saw Nexpose or Rapid7, and we saw Qualys. You're going to use those tools to discover not only the assets, but also you're going to discover the vulnerabilities. So there is something that we call a discovery scan that you need to scan, and the primary goal is to discover the assets, to discover the vulnerabilities, okay? And number two, once you discover them, you are going to prioritize them and assess them, right? Because not all vulnerabilities are the same. You know that for sure. A critical vulnerability will be prioritized over a low vulnerability. And that is obviously, if you have a vulnerability that has a score of 9 and another one has a score of 4, obviously the common reason we want you to remediate the one, to prioritize the one that has a score of 9 because it is critical, right? Now, you're going to see that prioritize the second phase of the vulnerability management lifecycle, and it involves prioritizing the weaknesses discovered according to their level of sensitivity and criticality. Yes, and you can prioritize them proportional to the risk level, right? So understand that security analysts must analyze each vulnerability carefully and determine the potential impact it may have on their organization's IT infrastructure. The team should evaluate which system or application are listed as critical, high, medium, and low risks. Yes, so your goal is to analyze your findings. I have run the scan. The scan came back with 5,000 vulnerabilities. Can I get all the 5,000 remediated immediately? Absolutely not. So what am I going to do? I'm going to prioritize those. At least which ones should we focus first? Should we focus on the higher ones and then we come to critical, like the critical ones, and then high, and then medium, and then low? Or actually just throw everything like that and ask the team to remediate them like that? You need to learn how to prioritize. By looking at the results, you need to learn how to prioritize. And we're going to see that, with Nessus or Qualys. We're going to see how we can do that. Now, the third step after you do all that is to report it to the correct team. Like I said, reporting means that you are bringing it to the attention of the correct team. Yes. So you're going to gather the final scan results and coordinate with the remediation teams to prepare a vulnerability assessment report with analytical information on the vulnerabilities found. Yes, you are going to make sure that you gather the final results and coordinate with the remediation teams to prepare a vulnerability assessment report. So you bring it to the attention of the team, and that's how a report looks like. For example, the one here, this is from Rapid7, and you can see that it is saying that we are applying 25 remediations, and when we apply, we're going to remediate 93.8% of vulnerabilities, and we're going to decrease the risk by 95.8%. And it is affecting a total of 252 assets. You can see here, this is a template that are called the top 25 remediation. So yeah, it's gonna apply 25 remediations, and you can see that it's gonna knock down 93% of vulnerabilities and reduce the risk by 95%. So it's telling you, hey, upgrade to the latest version of Oracle Java. For example, Oracle Java is outdated. You're going to deploy, and it is present on 163 devices. And upgrade the kernel, and you can see here and upgrade whatever. Yeah, so here, and it's gonna reduce the risk by this, and by this. Yeah, I'm telling you, if you apply this, you're gonna see that your risk goes down, and down. That's good. Okay, I like it. So what about the remediate part? It's very important to understand that remediation is taking corrective actions to fix vulnerabilities discovered according to the risk they pose to the organization. Yes, remediation is you're going to fix the vulnerabilities. Yes, for those who need a simpler term, you can use the term fix. I'm going to fix the vulnerability. I'm going to fix what I have discovered. Wow, I like that, right?
It's pretty much like their plan of action, right?
Yes, exactly. The plan of action and milestone is more like a plan to fix, but the remediation is what you do now to fix it, right? So yes, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna make sure that the remediation is that the vulnerabilities that we discovered are addressed. Wow, isn't that cool? That is really cool. That's really cool. So just understand that. But yeah, good job trying to link it to the poem. Absolutely. And you're going to see that companies are going to say, okay, but what about vulnerabilities that cannot be fixed immediately? That's when they're going to tell you, create a poem. Create a plan of action milestone if you can't fix them immediately. Yeah. Anyway, just remember this. It is taking corrective actions to fix the vulnerabilities that you discover according to the risk that they pose to the organization. Amazing. Methods of remediation. Remediation can be technical, non-technical. Either way, remediation can include updating the software, deactivating certain user account, applying the patches, updating the configurations, or isolating vulnerable systems to protect other critical components. Yeah, so just understand that technical remediation can be literally, taking an action to be able to apply to remediate the vulnerability right away. All right, so let's go. Patching, what is patching? The purpose of patching is to repair a vulnerability identified after a software release. Patching is one of the several ways to respond to risk from vulnerable software, from software vulnerabilities. The decision to apply a patch should be based on the risk involved, the complexity of the patch, the number of systems affected, the compatibility with systems, the criticality of the operations. You want to always collaborate with the CIO. The CIO is the Chief Information Officer whenever patching will affect the functionality of the organization critical application servers. Yeah, so we have to, you cannot apply everything that you see. Before you apply, you got to ask yourself, what could be the unintended consequences? What if things turn sour? What if the patch causes a disruption in the functionality, right? So you're going to do risk assessment to understand, what is the purpose of applying the risk, etc., etc. So anyway, be careful of patching. Not some systems are unable to tolerate patching due to incompatibilities from the combination of different products deriving from multiple vendors. Some patches and configuration changes are often released in haste to repair vulnerabilities. The time of testing is typically less than the time it took to test the original software. So be careful. The time of testing could be very short. And if you're not careful, you can apply a patch and cause a problem, a disruption of operations. So before applying a patch, system administrator must consider its effect on the mission critical operations. If the fix will affect the functionality of critical applications or servers, the collaboration is needed with the CIO to establish what degree of risk is acceptable. Patch may need to be tested on a non-production systems to avoid unintended consequences. Yes, usually organizations have what they call a testing environment. So if there is a new patch, what they should do is to first apply it on a test environment to see what could be the hiccups, what could be the impact before you apply it to the actual systems, right? To avoid anything, you have to test it first. Remediation schedules. Known vulnerabilities require corrective actions within specific calendar days. This time of remediation is dependent on whether the system is internal or external. The security baseline and the risk level as identified. The first calendar day of a vulnerability is when the weakness is discovered by a vulnerability scanner. So NIST does recommend whether a system is external or internal. So on the right, on the left side here, you guys have the external systems, meaning systems that are open to the internet. And here you have internal systems, meaning systems that are protected by a firewall. Now, external systems, as you can see, you can have high, NIST recommend that critical will be addressed within 3 days. 3 days if it's moderate, and here 14 days. And for high risk, 14 days, 14, and 30. And for moderate, 30 days, and 90 days. So anyway, the higher the vulnerability is, the shorter NIST will recommend you to fix it. Because if this is external and it is critical, you don't have enough time. If you wait for a long time, somebody is gonna exploit it. It is called a low-hanging fruit, and we don't want that to happen to you, so fix it quickly. Anyway, just know that this is just a recommendation, but companies can always deviate from those timelines that you are seeing here so that they can make sure that they remediate quickly. Vulnerability exception. Not every discovered vulnerability can or should be remediated. Some vulnerabilities should not be remediated due to operational and technical reasons. For example, let's take a look quickly. An application is running on a server that is outdated. The application does not support a higher version of the server. If the servers get upgraded, the application will no longer be compatible with the new server, new operating system. An exception needs to be granted until the application can support a higher version of the server. Yes. Example 2, a business is using an FTP service to transfer their files. FTP is insecure, we know that, and vulnerable, but the company is using it for the business needs and does not have another way of transferring files. They need to have an exception until SFTP is deployed before they can disable the protocol. Very important. All right. So, for example, here we mentioned vulnerability can have an exception if, for example, the vulnerability is running on an outdated application, but we don't have no other choice. We have to still continue to use it until we find a solution. There could be an exception to say, okay, we're gonna allow for 6 more months. We are aware of the risk, but we're gonna allow it for 6 more months to make sure that we are ready until we can change that vulnerability. There are 4 ways that organizations can respond to risk. Number 1 is to accept the risk. Number 2 is to mitigate the risk. Number 3 is to transfer the risk. Number 4 is to avoid the risk. Let's see a little bit of risk acceptance. What does that mean? We are talking about risk acceptance when the potential impact is low and no action is needed. Let's say we find a risk and there is no big impact. It is really low. The organization can say, okay, we're not going to be spending a lot of money to fix this vulnerability. Let's just accept it and move on. We can also decide to mitigate the risk. Mitigate means that we're going to fix the vulnerability, for example, by patching the vulnerable software or disabling a vulnerable feature or upgrading to a new software version without the vulnerability. Yes, that means we have to mitigate the vulnerability, or we're going to deploy additional compensating controls. Remember that, to reduce the vulnerability exploitation likelihood, or using a firewall and network segmentation to isolate vulnerable assets, thus reducing the attack surface. Yes, we can do that. It means we are mitigating the risk, we are fixing the risk, and we are reducing the risk, right? We can also decide to transfer the risk. We're going to say, okay, reduce the risk by sharing some of the consequences with another vendor. For example, we're going to purchase a cybersecurity insurance, or we're going to replace the conventional software installation with a software as a service. That way, if something happens, at least the responsibility is shared. Remember that risk transference. You are driving your car, for example. Take a typical example. You know, okay, I can get into a crash at any time, but I want to make sure that I am covered. For me to make sure that I'm covered, I'm going to purchase a car insurance so that if I get into a crash, the car insurance company will help me pay, right? That means you are transferring the risk to a company. That is the car service, that's the car insurance here. There are cybersecurity insurance also that company can purchase so that in case of a breach, in case of an attack, they may share responsibility with the cybersecurity insurance company. So risk avoidance, that attitude or that way is to completely avoid the risk, right? And so that the risk does not even occur by eliminating the attack surface. You can uninstall the vulnerable software, decommission the asset that has the vulnerability, or you can disable the computing capabilities, to avoid all this risk. So this is called risk avoidance. It's an attitude that you use to avoid the risk. So there are 4 ways of dealing with the risk, of handling risk. Number 1, we're going to accept the risk and move on. Number 2, we're going to mitigate the risk. We're going to fix it. Number 3, we're going to transfer the risk. Number 4, we're going to avoid the risk. So these are pretty simple. I guess you can retain them quickly here. And now we are coming to the validate. After everything, after the scan, after the remediation, you're going to validate your vulnerabilities by running what we call a validation scan to ensure that vulnerabilities have been remediated or resolved. The security analyst should verify that the measures that they have taken to be successful by running another vulnerability scan to ensure that the vulnerability no longer exists. Validation is not a single-step process. Organizations should scan and assess their environment regularly according to specific calendar. All right, so this is a homework that I'm giving to you guys. It's going to allow you guys to have hands-on with Nessus. If you have not done so yet, download the Nessus from here. I think most of us did. And then from your computer, I want you to run the following command. Run ipconfig/all and copy your gateway IP address and run a discovery scan in Nessus, with Nessus, right? Using the gateway IP address, add /24 to the end of the address so that you can literally target all your home network, okay? This is going to allow you to discover the devices that are connected to your home network. Go and do that. You're going to discover all your home network devices. You're going to discover them, okay? And then now you want to run a vulnerability scan on the devices that you have discovered, and you're going to generate a report, all right? So get familiar with Nessus this week. But I want to make sure that do this only when you are home, because you don't want to do it at a library or something like that. You might scan their system and get in trouble with the law. So do it only when you are connected to your home network, all right? And working group for this, that's the homework 1. Yahuda, any question?
We are not able to download it, to install the Nessus application. I'm not able to do so.
Well, yeah, again, try again. I think during the week, if you guys can, meet in groups, I'm sure some people will have discovered how to do that. Just follow and do it. If it is not possible, we will find a way. I can even next week we can look into another session to allow you guys to do it. But don't worry, you guys have up the next 3 weeks to do this. All right. So Just follow the instructions, and hopefully, I mean, if you go on Google, I'm sure you're gonna see people having the same issues. I might send you guys the instructions on how to do that. Follow those instructions, and hopefully it will work for you guys. Is that cool? All right. So just follow this, and we'll get there for sure. And once you have access to Nessus, run a discovery scan on the 3 IPs that I gave you guys here: 5.35.227.35, and all those here. And you're gonna discover how many hosts and etc. So, I mean, honestly, it is self-explanatory. Just read your homework and you will be able to do that. And homework 3, you're gonna list the type of vulnerabilities you commonly come across, and you're gonna use your own word to tell me what is your experience. Think about it. Use the process that we saw: discover, assess, and report, remediate, and validate. Use that to explain to me how do you do vulnerability management at your organization. You might say, I don't have an organization. I'm teaching you how to create scenarios, okay? Alrighty, so here is what I want the 2 teams to do. Tiger team, you're gonna do more research here on this CVE, and the Lion team is gonna do research here on this CVE and come up with you know, more information. And before that, what does CVSS stand for, and list common port and services, etc. We saw that in the class. Anyway, read and follow the instructions here, and next week we'll go over them. Now, I want you also to download Nmap. Nmap is one of those tools that you're gonna download from this website. And then make sure, if you're using Mac OS, you need to use Mac OS. If you're using Windows, download it and run a scan on this IP address, and come back and tell me what ports are open versus what ports are closed. Okay, so here, submit in, always work in group, because I recommend you guys to work in groups, very important. And we are finished for the day. Wow. We are finished for the day. Anything else? Does anybody have a question? I know it's just follow the instructions. I promise you guys, it's not difficult, but either way, we're gonna correct them. We're gonna see. And for the next 3 weeks, yes, we're gonna discover. I want to spend time on vulnerability management to make sure that people catch up. People understand. Is there any question for me here?
Real quick about the vulnerability scan. So I had a buddy, you know, he actually he started a business, cybersecurity. He went to you know, these small businesses, and he ran a vulnerability scan, right? And you know, he was told, I think, by the business lawyer, like, hey, you know, you cannot do that. You know, you can get in trouble. He mentioned, my buddy, he mentioned there was, like, I think, 2 lines. There was one, of course, there was like 2 lines, you know, there's 2 lines, you know, one of them, absolutely do not cross, but I think there's like a certain, you know, surface that you can scan without getting in trouble. Would you happen to know what I'm referring to, or know what I'm talking about? I think there's certain areas that you can't, like, touch regarding doing a vulnerability scan. Like, this probably is like a base broader one, and then there's the more sensitive one.
Yeah, all I will say is any vulnerability scan that you want to run requires a permission from the company. Okay. It is important, right? Because when you scan somebody's devices, you know what it means? It means you are trying to find vulnerabilities to exploit. You know, sometimes there could be externally facing things that you can scan, but still it is good to let the company know. But if it is internal, that is even worse. So you can't, like, for example, you go to a company, they give you the guest Wi-Fi password, and you log in and you start scanning stuff. You know, they can prosecute you for cyber criminality. So that's why it is very important to really try to always get a permission. That's why I say do this only when you are home, because you can be connected to a library and you believe that I can do it from the library, and that can really get you in trouble. Yeah, so always use a either you have the permission of the company to scan, or you just do it at home. If you do it at home, guess what? You're gonna discover your home network. I mean, there is no risk really. Like, you're not gonna take a system down or anything like that. But companies don't like their devices being scanned, even though hackers do that thousands of times every single day. You don't want to get caught
as well.
What's that?
Oh, you can get alerted as one as well. Even if you're not a hacker, you still some type of threat.
Yes, it's very suspicious. Yeah. So, for your information, I was using Wireshark, and I went to a library and I started capturing traffic, and then, like, I noticed that at some point, I was really capturing like sensitive information, and I was like, so I stopped quickly, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to get myself in trouble, So the best way is, if you don't have any, explicit permission or authorization from the company, don't do it. Don't do it, because you may really put yourself. That's how cyber criminals do. They scan devices, they scan, networks, and they scan everything to see what are the open ports, what are the targets, what are things that I can use to exploit this company. So companies don't like it. That's why I said, do this only when you are connected to your home network. Right. But yeah, these homework are going to give you guys really the hands-on. Again, work in groups. It's very, very important for you guys to work in group and understand how this thing works. If you are running into a problem with your entire group, just reach out to me, and I will be happy to kind of provide you guys some more guidance on how you can do this. But it's not difficult. Like I mentioned, if you guys are able to install Nessus on your device, you're going to discover things that, like I mentioned, the scan is right here. Let me log in and show you guys. You're gonna see the scans are right here, and yeah, you can go to all scan, and for any scan that you click, you can always generate a report. You can click here, you can generate a report, and it's gonna give you the option of like, okay, I want to generate the report. Do I want it under HTML or CSV? If you want CSV, you click here. If you want it to stay like a PDF, HTML, you leave it here. All right. And either way, you generate the report, and you can always see your report. For example, when the report is ready and you open it, that is how your report is going to look like. You can see here, right? And you can click here to see more details. You see? So that's how the report should look like if it is a HTML, and now if it is a CSV, it's going to come in a form of a spreadsheet. All right, so let me go to report, and I'm going to change here to CSV. So when I click here, you can see that it's going to generate the report for me, and it's going to look like an Excel file here. That is how the report will look like. Right. So again, my goal is to really train you guys. So obviously there are new things that you're going to discover, but what I really like about some of my students is once they discover new things, that they just don't sit there and say, oh, this is too difficult. They just go and they try to do it. You're going to make mistakes. Yeah, you're going to run into snags. You're going to run into issues and obstacles. But that is not the most important thing. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes, the presentation might not be the way I want it. Either way, don't pay attention to what I say. Even if I give good comment or bad comment, that's not what matters. What matters is, are you going to pick from there and grow? That's very crucial. I can be tough sometimes, but at the end, it is for your own good. My goal is not to shame anyone or make you look like you don't know anything. It is just to encourage you guys, to be the person that you want to be. So as you go through this, just don't be ashamed. Like I promise, like some of the students in my class that are participating, they are the one that finish up getting jobs because they attend, they are active, they're involved. You know, participation is not only doesn't mean you know, participation means that you are getting involved. That is really the mindset that I want to have from you guys. You know, participate, work on these things. You will be surprised that what you do at work, even if you get a job, and what you'll be doing at work is typically what we are doing here in class. I'm telling you. So I remember I told you guys one of my students found a job in vulnerability management, and he came back and was like, this is exactly what we do at work. Nessus is typically the same thing, right? And I'm like, yeah. So get your hands dirty as much as you can. Try to install it. I'm going to use another computer and try to install it on that computer. And if there is a process, maybe something changed in the process, I will let you guys know so that you guys can install it and start using it and start running it. Very, very crucial for you guys to get that, right? So with that being said, I'm not going to stop here. I think we are done for the day. If you have a question, let me know. Please read the homework and do it. And I promise you will become an expert in vulnerability management. This is the first week. Next week, we're going to continue again with vulnerability management with more hands-on and more things that we're going to learn. So just to say that we installed the base for vulnerability management today, and I believe that next week you should be good to go. Does anybody have a question before we finish? All right, we went 15 minutes over time. I do apologize for that, but I hope to see you guys next week. And take care. And if you have a question, please, please, please reach out to me. And God bless you all. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Hello, Pastor.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to know, maybe it's good to say it publicly. What's the best time to reach you in case of need?
Honestly,
the best time or hour?
Just call me. Call me. If I don't pick up, I'll return your call. My schedule is so busy that I can't say this, but just call me. Call me. Yeah. If I don't pick up, I will certainly make sure that I return your call. That's the best way.
Okay.
Or text. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care, and I hope to see you guys next week. Okay. God bless everybody. Yes. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Thank you, Pastor. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.